Good. Okay, calling to order the March 25th Board of Directors meeting for Providence Master Homeowners Association. We do have a quorum president. We do have a quorum present. I am your president, Pete Chesley, to my right.
Neil Merrill, Director. Will Chapman, Secretary.
Kate Allen, Treasurer.
Paul Patriot, Vice President.
And to my left,
Tasha Davila, Community Manager.
Felicia McMillan, Assistant Community Manager.
Jody Davison, Director of Operations.
okay, we're going to start with the resident open forum. Tasha, do you want to run through the guardrails for that?
Nope, probably do. Nope, I got
Felicia, go ahead.
it. All right, so we did receive 4 for the open forum, and then I believe, I don't know if there's some homeowners that do want to speak, so I'll go through those and then we'll allow the homeowners to speak. So the first one comes from Lori Spetterman. She's inside of Northern Terrace. She states, so let me understand. We have a new board members who want to remove the courtesy patrol. Exactly what rose-colored glasses are they looking through? If the patrol answers 60 to 80 calls per week, that's enough justification to keep them. If we need to save money, lose the wine cheese parties and the neighbor meet and greet. It's not the responsibility of Providence to be the social committee. Better yet, lose some of those corporate kazars you hired to oversee Providence. The patrol does more than the office staff anyway. Neighbors have called to report issues and have been lied to by staff members. Messages go unforwarded and no follow-up occurs. This is ridiculous. As you are fully aware, Metro does not patrol the private streets in our Northern Terrace community. Therefore, we rely on the courtesy patrol to help alleviate trouble and notify the office when issues arise. For board members to consider removing this service, which all homeowners pay for, is not only reckless, but financially irresponsible. Should some,
Is it the same comment?
yes.
Yes.
Should something happen to a homeowner that patrol could have assisted with, you have now placed the liability on all Providence homeowners. This service is one of the attractions of our community. If you're looking to save money, here are some ideas. Stop installing real grass, which requires excessive watering costs. Lessen the number of plants requiring water and start investing in smart water landscaping. Start addressing issues with walls which already have water damage and are causing disintegration of wall blocks. Wake up, people.
I just didn't catch the name of the resident.
Lori Spetterman. The next one is from Linda Burks, who lives inside of Hearthstone and Brookstone. Hello, I would like for the board to consider reducing the patrol in half or canceling it completely. We should get our financial situation in an aging community in a better position now before it ends up costing the homeowners a lot more. Another money savings I would like to ask the board to review is the amount of staff we pay for in a rental office. Can they work out of Camco's office or from home, eliminating the rental space altogether, or at least working in an office half the size without the meeting rooms? Thank you to all of the board members for your time and work on the board. The next one is from Todd Schwartz, who is inside of West End. As a former board member for over a decade at another HOA with over 1,600 homes, just about 4 miles via CA away that used to be the last stop before the desert, I can tell you courtesy patrol is a deterrent to crime, vandalism, and other nuisances. The reports you get might not be filled with juicy activity, but perhaps instead of looking it as a reason the service is not needed, but as the service is doing its job. At my previous HOA before courtesy patrol, we had a crime and vandalism along with fear of some homeowners to go to their neighborhood park. When we brought on the proper courtesy patrol company with full daily shifts, the reports were full of activity. But as their presence became known to the area over the years, those reports became more routine and the complaints from homeowners regarding vandalism or fear going to the parks dropped and disappeared. Not that the area was a bad area. Actually, at the time I moved in was very desirable, but over the years, including the 2007 crash, things changed and we added the expense during these tighter financial times. But a key point was those issues just went elsewhere and not not far, as I heard from neighboring properties and the city councilman showing these issues were ready to pounce back into the immediate community if the opportunity was given. I'm always open to reviewing companies and trying another company after the proper vetting process. I'm also open to adjusting procedures and other details of any contract, including if it is needed, having a supervisor in the office on top of patrol officers. But to save a fast food meal and monthly expenses in our assessments by doing away entirely, I would have a greater concern of a short and long-term liability and changes to the area of doing away with the service that has been a long time expected service and holding the desirability of the area and the premium on home values for the desirability. We should be communicating better how, as a community, we can continue to utilize courtesy patrol to keep the area desirable with as simple items like letting people know to have courtesy patrol come check on solicitors to ensure they are properly authorized to be out there. Remember, HOA's primary responsibility and purpose through different actions from enforcing standards to maintenance and other services rendered is to protect home values and attempt to enhance them. And that's it for that one. This is from Brian Fairs inside of Westminster. Good morning. I am a lifelong resident of Las Vegas that has lived in the Northwest area for most of my life. The first home that I owned was about a mile outside of the Providence Master Plan community. We had a number of friends that lived in Providence and constantly made me aware of how much better it was where they lived. They spoke of things that the community had to offer that other housing developments did not. My family and I first moved into the Providence community in 2014. And when we moved again in 2019, we decided that we did not want to live in any other surrounding master plan communities. For my family, the things that make Providence attractive are the amenities it has to offer, such as courtesy patrol, social events, and parks. I love that there are parks within walking distance of my home. Pre-COVID, my family and I attended almost every social event put on by the community. These events give a small town feel to a rather large community, which is something I personally enjoy. With regards to the courtesy patrol, I am aware that they are limited in their capacity of what they can actually do. However, I feel they are integral part and that their presence is important because it serves as a deterrent to criminal activity. My thoughts are simple. Anything that decreases the likelihood of criminal activity is essential to a community and should not be eliminated. I am aware that while this may not be the views of all of those that live here in Providence, nor the opinion of those that make the decisions for the residents, I just wanted to take a moment to explain to you my thoughts on the matter. If you care to discuss this further, I can be reached either by email or cell phone. Thanks again for all that you do. That's all the reading ones I have.
Thank you.
Those people specifically requested their emails be read?
Yes.
Okay, so they got some, there was more than what we received in our email.
Yeah, most of those are sent to the info email.
Because it sounds like the same email.
Yeah. So, Steve, looks like your team?
That's it?
Yes.
Speak up there or speak over here?
Yes, come on up to the podium. Thank you, sir.
My name's Steve Furnace. I live in Northern Terrace. I want to talk to you about the courtesy patrol. I support the courtesy patrol in the form of having somebody at the park. It doesn't make any sense to me. Is it all right if I take my mask down? It doesn't make any sense to me to spend $1.5 million of our funds on the park and then not protect the park. If, I don't know if anybody's looked, but if you ever go to the Gilcrease Park, the Lone Mountain Park, things you'll find, graffiti, trash, needles, used condoms, food, and all kinds of stuff. And yes, we can always say that we'll have somebody come clean it up. It's a great idea. But we're gonna spend $1.5 million on the park. People want to be able to use the park. You want it to be safe. We've gone from 4 courtesy patrols down to 3. I don't know, maybe we can go down to 2. You have to protect the parks. If you don't, I promise you, I've seen Gilcrease, I've seen the bums there, I've seen all the drug deals and all kinds of stuff. And that's exactly what will happen here. So I don't want to go on and on, but I think it's very important. Consider it. If there's any doubt, put it out to the people. I mean, we've got 10 people here, you got the board, put it out to the people. If there's so much concern, ask the people to vote. We say on this and that, say, okay, you know what? We'll put it out to the people and see what they think. All right? Appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sherry Wiener.
Yes, about courtesy patrol, I'm in favor of keeping the patrol because I'd like to know if you get rid of the patrol, who's gonna do everything that the patrol does? If some kid gets lost or something like that, who's gonna go out and search for them? You can't call the police for everything. So are you all gonna get on the search committee and go out? Or are you gonna say, well, tough shit, people, we don't have anything? They do patrol the park, they check the equipment, who's gonna check the equipment? We could end up like, I think it was a lamplighter, HOA, a couple years ago. They didn't check their equipment on the swings and something fell off and hit a kid in the head. And his parents were suing the HOA for $20 million. Last I heard, they came down to 10. But we could end up ending up with liability that's gonna cost more than keeping control. If they do between 60 and 80 incidents a week, what do you think is gonna happen when there is no control? We had an incident in Northern Terrace where we had 3 teenagers after midnight fooling around in a truck. Then they stopped and decided to go into a neighbor's backyard. So my neighbor happened to see them, he called courtesy patrol. When the patrol got there, the kids had gone. But the patrol ran around, found the kids, talked to them, and escorted them off the property. So I agree with what the gentleman there said. We're gonna end up in a lot more trouble and a lot more things if you do get rid of the patrol. Unless you guys and ladies are all gonna step in and take over what they do. Or are you just gonna leave all those duties empty? Huh? Who's gonna do it? You or nobody, or the patrol? So I would rather see us put out the money for the patrol than put out the money in liability, which is gonna cost us a heck of a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Chapman. No, I'm just letting you know it's there.
Thank you, sorry. Good evening. Just to address a couple of points, my neighbor and I belong to a cat rescue, and we regularly go there to feed the cats. And it has security, and unfortunately, I have to tell you that there's drugs. We find all kinds of nasty things in that park, and I'm not even gonna go into that. But I think that's a good idea too, just to have someone there, but I don't know that it really stops it, unfortunately, because when people want to do stuff, they just do it, they find a way. And the other thing that I wanted to respond to you about was we have a neighborhood watch now, because I saw what appeared to be a drug deal, either buying or selling, not sure what was going on there. And I put it up, instead of calling the police, which I should have, I probably should have called, why didn't I call the police? But anyway, so it doesn't show up on crime maps, but I think it's a crime. These people are driving in and he's going to the door, and there's an exchange, and there's stuff going on. So I took a picture of it, kept it, and said something on Facebook without the picture. But the point is, everybody's like, we need a neighborhood watch, we need to keep an eye out. And I think that that is doing kind of what courtesy patrol does, except all the time. Like if you're working from home, you have a window, you go outside, you walk your dog. So sometimes people do actually do that themselves, and I wouldn't say it's free, but it's your time. Back to my original speech, since the last meeting, hopefully some of the board members have taken some time to think about the fiduciary responsibility to the homeowners they volunteer for. I'm specifically referring to the budget problem and low reserves. It appears to me that CCMC, who is also a fiduciary to the homeowners, is on a campaign to make Securitas look like something they're not. Why would a management company do that? If CCMC and whoever else is behind the show spend half the time trying to find solutions to fix our low reserves, then we surely will hear about it this evening. Instead, we are here hiring more CCMC employees, possibly 94,000 bill, water literally going down the drain, almost 250,000 extra this year. But we must have Securitas busy taking down lost pet posters and maintaining a neighborhood message board or removing open house signs at almost $800,000 a year. So please highlight your solutions tonight as we hope to get Providence back to a healthy financial association as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jody, or anybody, do you ever know how many neighborhood watches we have in Providence right now?
I don't know, no.
A couple years ago, when Metro came out, Metro really did that first Tuesday every month at their substation. They came out with their group there, I forget what it's called. They said at the time we only had 9 neighborhood watches. And at the time we had about 24 communities. Now we're up to 29, I think. And so I'd be curious how many of you, only 9 back then, about a third, not quite a third.
Sure. Yeah, I can reach out to all of our sub-associations and try and get that information.
Well, again, we started the neighborhood watch in Emory for a year, and then it just died. So essentially, we don't have one.
Same thing happened in Chestnut Hill.
Who's next option?
Joseph Van Dyke.
So I want to talk about the courtesy control just a little bit. I sent an email to the 5 board members and management. Another homeowner and I spent some time going through over 2,000 or approximately 2,000 incident reports from last year, spanning approximately 200 days from last year. I actually was just given an envelope from management with another set of reports that I'll be going through also. We found some interesting things. So 2 homeowners so far I mentioned with the 60 to 80 incident reports, or 60 to 80 calls that came from management, something that management sent out saying that courtesy patrol handles 60 to 80 incidents in a week. In our 211 days, there were 1,939 reports, which is 64 per week. So barely in that 60 to 80. I just want to mention that. But I also want to mention that between 15 and 18% of these reports appear to be duplicates. So basically what happens is courtesy patrol goes to a call, multiple courtesy patrol officers go to that same call and they both take a report on the same incident. Those count as 2 separate incidents with 2 separate report numbers. That happens about 18% of the time. So if we take out those duplicates, that number drops to 54 per week. Further, of all of their reports that they take, only about 27% of them originate from a call from a homeowner. So very, very few. And of those that do come from homeowners, there are only about, well, let me say 55% of those from homeowners are management issues, things like CC&R violations, my neighbor cut down a tree and never replaced it, that type of thing. And of all of those things that they get that should go to management, we found in their reports that they only pass that on to management 4% of the time. The reports have a field that specifically says management notified, and the security officer, when they fill out the report, they check yes or no, or they list a name of a manager, they check no 96% of the time. So they don't even communicate with management as far as we can tell from looking at their reports. The single largest category of their reports is miscellaneous. It's 55% of their reports are categorized as miscellaneous. These are superfluous reports that are about their own computer not working, their own equipment not working, their own equipment missing. Simple things like I was driving through Northern Terrace and saw a police car. I don't know why he was here. That's 55% of their incident reports are categorized as miscellaneous, and a good number of those are those types of things. We found a report where they said, observed a maintenance company working on the splash pad at Knickerbocker Park. That was one of their reports. Why is that a report? Shouldn't be. So calls from residents are 27% of all reports. Like I said, less than 5% of those calls are reporting suspicious activity of some kind. That's not what people call courtesy patrol for. They don't call for suspicious activity. That works out to 8 to 9 times per year. So 8 to 9 times per year in Providence, somebody calls courtesy patrol to tell them of something suspicious. One of the things that management listed in their flyers that they can report things to the police, or they can help encourage homeowners to report something to the police. In our 211 days and 2,000 reports, we found that happened 5 times. 5 times. Some of the other things that people talk about that Courtesy Patrol does, I just want to talk about really quick. Alarm response, 0.2% of their incident reports are alarm response. And I also want to mention that half of their alarm response are the fault of CCMC or Securitas setting off their own alarm in this building. Noise complaints, 3% of all their reports deal with noise complaints, but many of these are not calls to Courtesy Patrol. They are calls to the police, and Courtesy Patrol finds the police and goes and asks what's going on. The police say, oh, we just shut down a party. Courtesy Patrol says, great, I'm going to take a report on it. And that's 3% of their reports. Open garage doors, that's another big one that people say is awesome. 2% of all reports were open garage doors. In about 70% of these, Courtesy Patrol was unable to do anything about it. Lost and found, 0.6%. Pet waste removal, this is a big one. I've been told, and I'm sure you guys have heard it too, that Courtesy Patrol removes pet waste from the parks. Of all their reports, including their superfluous ones like my computer isn't working, we found 0 reports of Courtesy Patrol picking up pet waste. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, I'm just telling you that I didn't find any reports saying that. And if they take reports like, oh, Republic Services is here on Monday to empty the trash bins, I don't know why they wouldn't take a report of them actively doing something productive, unless they're not doing it. I've never seen them doing it, and I didn't find a single report of them doing it. After the miscellaneous category, all those random reports that I was talking about, the next biggest category is water leaks. Water leaks, in our 211 days, they had 751 reports of water leaks. That's 39%. So when we fix the irrigation, there's 60 to 80 incident reports, which I already explained is more like 45, will drop by 39% when we fix the irrigation. Of all those water leaks, like I said, 4% of those go to management, according to the report. I don't know if they all go to management, but I'm going to tell you something else, that the couple times that I've requested reports from management, management has to go through Securitas to get those reports. So if it's a matter of routine that Securitas always sends them to management, number one, why is there a field that they're checking no to not send to management? And number two, why would management have to go get them from Securitas for me? Out of all another thing with those water leaks, like I said, 4% go to management. We found 0% where Courtesy Patrol actively fixed a water leak. Every single one that we looked at, they stick a flag in the ground, they take a picture, and they drive away. And then they take a report and they report it to Securitas. Not to Brightview and not to management. Solicitors, that's another big one. 1% of all reports deal with a solicitor. That's approximately twice a month. Lost pets, 5 to 7%. That one's a little tougher to get an actual exact precise number because they're not even consistent in their reports. So we kind of looked at how many they take and categorize as lost and found and how many they take and categorize as animals. The problem is most of their animal reports are things like a coyote was seen in the park or a dog was walking not on a leash, things like that. So it's difficult to find the lost and found ones, but like Laura mentioned, they're actually detrimental to the efforts of homeowners looking for a lost pet because they drive around pulling down the lost pet flyers. And also, if you weren't aware, they no longer have a microchip reader because they broke that when they burned their own truck last July. Still hasn't been replaced.
Monday.
Awesome. 10, 11 months later. Okay. Courtesy Patrol is 24% of our budget, but think about some of the things that I just shared, some of the numbers of what they actually do. I have just a couple quick examples of some of the absolute most ridiculous reports that I found from them. In one instance, they identified a driver that they believed was DUI. 2 of them worked together to force this driver to stop, essentially cutting him off dangerously, believing he was drunk. Then the courtesy patrol driver gets out and acts like a police officer, goes over and talks to the driver, gets the ID, registration, things like that from the driver. The driver ends up saying, screw this, and drives away. Speeds off, and courtesy patrol chases this vehicle all the way to Hualapai on 215. All right, when they call the police told them to stay at a distance. As a police officer, I can tell you that's most likely exactly what the dispatcher said. Don't make contact, follow them, tell us where they are, and we'll send someone out there. They didn't do that. They forced this car to stop and created a very dangerous situation for anyone that would have been in that area. I'm actively working on getting a copy of the 911 call because I want to know exactly what they said to 911 and make sure that it's consistent with what they actually wrote in their report, because that type of thing is very aggravating to me. Another example of one of their reports is they found someone dumping out a cooler of ice, and they told them that was illegal dumping. It was ice. Another example, they found a crime scene. It was shell casings on the ground. Rather than calling the police, they just picked up the shell casings. Something that Metro does with shell casings that are found, there's something called NIBIN, which is a federal database. Every firearm puts a unique signature on a shell casing. And if courtesy patrol was trying to cooperate with law enforcement, one of the things that they would do is have the police come out and pick up those shell casings, because when the police department collects shell casings and collects guns, they use this technology to match different crime scenes around the city or potentially around the country. One of the comments that I heard in the forum earlier was looking for lost kids. Courtesy Patrol's never done that. I shouldn't say never. Last year, I did not see a report from them in the ones that we looked for, but I can tell you as a police officer, I look for lost kids almost weekly. So I don't know why a homeowner would feel that you can't call the police for that. If police have a helicopter, we usually find kids way faster. We also have dogs that can sniff out kids, something else that Courtesy Patrol doesn't have. I'm not saying Courtesy Patrol would not be helpful in that situation, but I don't know why you wouldn't call the police, because they have much more resources. All the activity on Tully Road and BLM land. So they have numerous reports, and they actually did a video for the What Do You Want to Know Wednesday on the Courtesy Patrol, and a part of that video, they talked about enforcement of the desert laws and the dumping going on and trying to kick people out of there, trying to get people to move their cars from all along Tully Road, Farm, Grand Teton. That's BLM land. It's not belonging to the association. And I have an email here from the Bureau of Land Management. Very simple email. It says, I'm Brad Jones, Interim Chief for the Bureau of Land Management Police Department. I'm responding to an email that you sent asking if we have an agreement with Securitas Security. The BLM has 0 agreements with this company for patrols or for taking enforcement action. In layman's terms, Courtesy Patrol has no business doing anything on BLM land, straight from the BLM. Lastly, this is the last thing I'll say, is there's many reports that they have of disabled vehicles on public roadways. If their job is to observe and report or provide some level of safety, I would expect that if it's a disabled vehicle on a public road, maybe they park behind it, put some cones up, sit behind them with their flashing lights so that nobody comes by and hits them. Maybe call the police. I don't know if it's really a police matter, if they can sit there and help them, but I'll tell you what they actually do. They take a picture, they take a report, and they drive away. Every single one. I'm not opposed to keeping the Courtesy Patrol in some fashion. I understand there are some people that think they serve a benefit. Obviously, the board sees that as well. I just think we need to compromise and find some way to meet in the middle, because the amount of money that we're spending now for the work that they actually do is absolutely asinine. I think we should look at minimum, look at another company, because Securitas is screwing us. That's all I got.
Thank you.
So sorry if I muck up your last name. Is it James Gary? Perfect.
Well, like I said the last time I was here, in order for me to come to a meeting, something must be going wrong.
Can you tell us what association you live in?
Oh, I live in Madison, my name is James. So I'm here again at the request of obviously emails that I received from some individuals that are in this room. And I appreciate your due diligence, sir, and your numbers and percentages. I think they're quite accurate. hopefully the individuals that are sitting behind this semi-horseshoe table take that to heart, because I think it's extremely critical as to the decisions that you have to make. So I'm not sure if this is about security control or if this is about budgets, right? So is this budgets or is this security control?
Courtesy patrol is the agenda topic you can speak on. Right?
Okay, so I run Providence, I fight Providence every single solitary day. I see the trucks throughout all the communities, through all the parks, on my 15 or 20 mile bike ride and 5 to 6, 7 mile ride that I do literally every single day. I've not seen them do any of the things that this young lady said back here. Why in the world courtesy patrol would look for children beyond me? That's a law enforcement function, and law enforcement should do that as a retired law enforcement officer myself. So again, to me, we're talking about security patrol, but this is really about dollars and cents, because we're counting dollars. If you want to keep the security patrol board members, then there has to be other things that we have to cut. There have to be other things that we have to minimize. Because if we don't, I can tell you as a homeowner, I can tell you as a person who has done budgets, I can tell you as a person who has led a union, I can tell you as a person who has had fiduciary responsibility, that you have a responsibility to not raise my rates, right? I don't care if it's an event at a park, I don't care if it's a fireworks display, I don't care if it's wine and beer that you guys want to have done. If this institution, if this organization is in arrears, then you should not be spending my money on public events. If that requires you to reduce the amount of courtesy patrol at $800,000+, then that's your responsibility. That's your obligation, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, because we've had this discussion before, Walt. And I got up here and said the same doggone thing, and 14 months later, we're still talking about it. We're still talking about reserves that we know are depleted. So we can't have 4th of July fireworks displays. We can't have wine displays. We can't bring people in here and do the things that you guys want to do. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to the 5,800 homeowners who don't show up. And someone said, put it to a vote. Well, we seen the vote count when we did the recall. So we know members do not participate. That's why you see the minimum participation here today. That's not going to change. That is not going to change. We can look at every election, the last election, the election before that, be it local, be it at the presidential level. Most people don't show up. We expect you, the people who sit around this table, to fulfill your fiduciary responsibility. So if you can't do that, then step the hell down. But don't send me some bill, don't send me some vote that you guys elected to do because you can't manage the budget. If you can't manage the budget, step down. If you got to hire more people for community events, don't hire them. If you're paying benefits, if you're paying salaries, if you're doing those things and we are in arrears or we are in a reserve deficit, how can you bring more people on? That's a failure, that's a failure, failure. Who does that? You don't manage your household budget like that. You don't spend your way out of arrears. You don't spend your way out of it, you cut your way out of it. And I'm not sure why that is so difficult for us to understand. We put trust and faith in the people in this room that you're gonna do the right thing when nobody's freaking looking. That's leadership. When nobody's looking, if the speed limit is 30 and you're going 45, then you're not being moral. If you're holding events and we're 1.2 million and we got thousands of dollars of water running down the roadway, and I see it every day. I see it every day. That's a failure here, not here. So then don't send me a bill because you failed judicially to do your job. Step the hell down. Step down if you don't want to do your job. And don't hire another person. That defeats the purpose, particularly a community events person. That defeats the purpose. So come on, ladies and gentlemen, let's do the right thing. But don't send me something in the mail saying we're going to go from 180 to 200, or from 180 or from 150 or 80 or whatever the number is now, so that we can spend our way, we can tax our way out of where we are today. That's not going to fix the problem. I know the 5,800 members of Providence, we love the parks, we love all the social things. I don't have any children. So I don't participate in any of the events, but I want the events to happen because a lot of people in here do have children, and I'm all for it. I don't go to the parks, but I'm all for the parks. But I'm all for these things responsibly. And I would hope that you would be too, because you're spending other people's money. And I don't know how you can do that in good conscience. I really don't. How do you do that in good conscience? I don't know. I really and truly don't know. You're gonna have gangs, you're gonna have drugs, you're gonna have people leaving bottles on the side of the road. I pick them up on my route and I put them in those wonderful disposable cans that we have that are sitting around for the dog food. I pick up the beer bottle, I pick up the beer can, I pick it all up on my way, stop from my run and pick it up. Like that's what good residents do. So I don't know this all what the courtesy patrol is supposed to do. Well, I can tell you they're not doing what I see it because I'm doing it. And every resident in here, to include the other 5,000 plus, should be doing the same thing. I'm not against the courtesy patrol. I'm against the spending. And if that's part of it, well, then we reduce it and then we bring it back up. But gosh, can we get it under control? I don't think that's asking too much of anybody in this room. I really and truly don't. And I don't want my dues to go up yet again, to Providence and then to Madison Grove. Like I don't want to see it. This is a great community. Like let's not mess it up because there are some people in here who don't want to do the right thing for the wrong reasons. Hopefully we get this together.
Thank you.
Rod Adams?
On courtesy patrol, I'm all for it. I've got a issue that happened at my house 5 years ago. On a Friday night at 8 o'clock, a rock went through my bedroom window. I called courtesy patrol. They came out within 2 minutes, took a report, called Metro. Excellent service by the courtesy patrol. They're always doing a great job. I've been here 9 years. Never fails. They do a great job. I think the gentleman that brought the issues up, it's a simple categorization of the issue and the event. I worked with Federal Protective Service in the early 80s. Same issues came up, 40 years ago. We categorized everything, so the officer had to fill out a category and subcategory of the event. I think that simple thing would help this situation. When the event that happened at my house, Securitas manager showed up the next morning at 8 o'clock, said, "I'm sorry this happened, Mr. Adams, but we'll get to the bottom of it." And they did. Within 2 weeks, the kids were caught. They had been vandalizing other houses. This is all because of our courtesy patrol. So I totally support courtesy patrol. On a larger scale, I'm very concerned about January meeting. We had proposals from this board, some members on this board, to eliminate the in-house management team. I guess eliminating this facility also, I don't know. Also eliminating lifestyle events. Nice to have lifestyle events that are neutral, no cost. What about lifestyle events that we've had in the past that have raised money for operation support? $7,000 to that charity. Thanks to the hard work of not only myself, but some of the members that sit to my right. These are the kind of things that we should explore as a lifestyle committee and having positive, neutral, and positive events that bring in money to this association. That's something we have not pursued other than giving the proceeds. The Red, White, and Blues event, Brews event on the promenade 2 years ago that I helped sponsor with Jenna, raised $7,000. And like I said, it was a very good event, and it's something we should follow through to have even more of. All we talk about online, which is another joke, I'd like to also say, folks, all these meetings are in meeting minutes on the Providence website. Go to that, do not go to a Facebook page. That's full of deceitful and unfortunately lies. And they eliminated courtesy patrol, so we're gonna eliminate that too. Okay, results, here's what we're gonna get, folks. We're gonna get an off-site management company, we've all experienced those. We're gonna get no facility probably. We're gonna get revenue generating or revenue neutral lifestyle events, no courtesy patrol. So basically what we're getting, folks, is sub HOA. I mean, I get more out of my sub HOA than I would with that scenario. So what I propose is we establish a committee of volunteers, especially veteran volunteers, to look at some of these items and see how our home values, folks, guess what? They're gonna go down if we don't have some of these. I guarantee it. So I think we need a committee, and I'll be front and center like I have with every other ad hoc committee that we've had, and we'll come up with an efficient plan for moving forward. And it's not what I heard at the January meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was the final report.
Okay. We're gonna move on to action items, acknowledge action in lieu of a meeting.
So,
Go ahead.
yeah, so this was for the social media policy that the Board of Directors approved to go to a corporate council between meetings, as well as the 2 sub-association architectural approvals. And those were for Far Harbor Glen and Auburn and Bradford. This is just an acknowledgement, so no motion needs to be.
Okay.
Moving on to board reports. Excuse me, that's my report. So,
I have a question about that.
yes, sir.
Under lifestyle update, it says Jindo Music Bingo yielded substantial participation in January. According to the lifestyle director at the lifestyle meeting, that substantial participation was about 4 or 5 families. Is that substantial?
That was her verbiage, so.
Okay, I would ask that she get a little more honest in her reporting this. She also at that same meeting, she said that the Jindo was at minimal cost to the association. This was conducted after we suspended spending money on lifestyle events. So what's the cost associated with doing that?
I'm not quite sure, Phil, I think it's about $100.
That shouldn't have been spent after we suspended all spending on lifestyle events.
So the funds that they used was from the income, not from the.
She said at minimal costs to the association. Which implies that it cost the association something.
Understood.
Can you make sure that we did not spend any association money on that?
Yes.
What did the families pay to participate in that?
They didn't pay anything.
They didn't pay anything, then how did the income from it?
It was income that was already existing for the social lifestyle.
Because already budgeted for that?
Correct.
Association money? That we
Income.
spent on Jindo after we said no more spending on lifestyle.
Yes.
Okay, so we violated what the board decided to do in January.
The way that we understood it was that they were suspending the budget for lifestyle.
What we suspended was any further spending on lifestyle. That's the further notice. Are there any other expenses that we spent money on with other understandings?
I don't believe so, no.
Thank you.
I concur with Phil, that was the direction that the board gave back in January, not to spend any money. When I heard minimal spending, I thought it was like the time that lifestyle director spent overseas.
Sure.
Maybe that could be considered spending for that association, that's a labor. But, to spend even $100 would be a violation of that direction.
So welcome packets mailed out in January were 33. Total closings as of January 31st, 2021 was 5,637. And the total owners signed up for e-statements through the end of the month for January was 1,186. Moving on to the treasurer's report.
Go ahead, Katie.
Can I take my mask off?
Yes.
Okay. So I did things a little differently this month. I gave the board a spreadsheet of possible options we could do. And as of February 28, 2021, the balance of the loan for the park expansion is $557,074.28, with an annual interest rate of 4.15%. The irrigation repair project will cost $841,761 to be paid in 4 installments, 2 in 2021 and 2 in 2022. At the end of this year, if the board does not decide to contribute any extra money towards the reserve account, the association will be approximately 46% funded. All of this together is quite a concern. We have some options, so I put some of these options together in the spreadsheet. So I will read out to you what each tab is, but tab 1, the loan for $557,074.28 at an interest rate of 4.15%. The budgeted monthly payment is $6,000. So tab 1 shows that if we only paid the $6,000 budgeted monthly payment, it would take until July 2030 to pay off the loan, and we would spend an additional $113,749.11 in interest.
Hey, Katie.
Yes.
Just making sure, when you say tab 1, you're talking about the tab that just reads loan.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a surplus of $390,616.79 left over from 2020. The Finance Committee voted unanimously to recommend the board put the excess funds toward the balance on the loan. So tab 2 shows that if the board votes to put the $390,616.79 excess of 2020 funds towards the loan and pay the rest of the loan off through the monthly $6,000 budgeted payment, the loan will be paid off in August 2023, and we would spend an additional $10,311.47 in interest. Tab 3 shows scheduled payments for the 4 remaining phases of the irrigation retrofit repairs. Phase 1 in the amount of $244,505 is due in May 2021. Phase 2 in the amount of $186,755 is due in July 2021. Phase 3 in the amount of $190,456 is due in January 22. Phase 4 in the amount of $220,045 is due in April 2022, and it's for a total of $841,761. So tab 4 shows what paying for the irrigation repair over the next 2 years will do to our reserves if we contribute the monthly installments following the latest reserve study. In 2020, we are scheduled to contribute $45,566 per month for a total of $546,792 for the year. The reserve study also has phase 1 of the irrigation scheduled for 2021 and $84,600 in other non-irrigation related repairs for a total of $359,600 in expenditures. Since the board decided to expedite the irrigation repairs, that will increase the amount of expenditures for 2021 by $156,260, which would mean a total of $515,860 in expenditures for 2021. This will leave us with a reserve balance of $1,043,103.55, which would leave us $1,208,772.45 short of the fully funded amount of $2,209,772.45 $251,876 and leave us approximately 46.32% funded. In 2022, we have scheduled to contribute $46,135.58 a month for a total of $553,626.96 for the year. The reserve study has phase 2 of the irrigation schedule for 2022 and $18,540 in other non-irrigation related repairs. So that's a total of $245,140 in expenditures. Since the board decided to expedite the irrigation repairs, that will increase the amount of expenditures for 2022 by $183,901, which would mean a total of $429,041 in expenditures for 2022. This will leave us with a reserve balance of $1,177,329.65, which would leave us $1,293,383.35 short of the fully funded amount of $2,470,713 and leave us approximately 47.65% funded. So tab 5 shows that if we pay the irrigation retrofit repairs and contribute the $390,616.79 in excess funds from 2020, plus the monthly budgeted reserve contribution, the ending balance for the reserve in 2021 would be $1,436,658.57, which would be $815,217.43 short of the fully funded amount of $2,251,876 and leaves approximately 63.8% funded. For 2022, the ending balance for the reserve would be $1,574,836.73, which would be $895,876.27 short of the fully funded amount of $2,251,876 and leaves approximately 63% funded.
That's at the end of 22.
That's at the end of 22.
Thank you.
So this option would mean that instead of putting the 2020 excess funds towards the loan, it would go into the reserves. So we would still have to pay the loan. Okay. Tab 6 is a list of costs that were emailed to me by Jeremy and Larry Hart from CCMC. As cost management suggests that we can vote to pause the spending of. We can't vote to change the budget, but we can vote to stop spending money on certain things. Many of these were actually part of the Finance Committee's recommendations to the budget for 2021. As I said, we cannot go back and change the budget now, however, we can vote on pausing. The list calls for a reduction on social events, CCMC staff, courtesy patrol to a 2-shift per day rotation. So the savings amount, this also has some social events cut out, $590,923. So tab 7 shows that contributing the monthly budgeted contribution for the reserve study, the excess 2020 funds, and the money saved should the board decide to do any pauses. So that would mean that we put the $390,000 towards, the reserves, plus anything that we save by not spending any money, or any of the savings that we would vote to pause on, minus the expenditures for the irrigation. That's tab 7 shows how this will affect reserve. So for 2021, the reserve balance would be $2,032,026.42, which would be $219,849.58 short of the fully funded amount of $2,251,876, which would leave us 90% funded. For 2022, the reserve balance would be $2,176,183.21, which would be $294,529.79 short of the fully funded amount of $2,400,000. I'm missing a number there. $2,470,713, which would leave us 88% funded for 2022. This option would be that the excess funds of 2020 and any savings per tab 6 would be contributed toward the reserve account and not the loan. So we would still have the loan to pay. Tab 8 shows how contributing the monthly budgeted contribution for the reserve study and the money saved should the board vote to pause the suggested cost from tab 6 minus expenditures for the year. So on this option, the excess funds of 2020 would go towards the loan. For 2021, the reserve balance would be $1,638,471.49, which would be short $613,404.51 of the fully funded amount of $2,251,876, which would leave us approximately 72.3% funded. For 2022, the reserve balance would be $1,778,676.23, which would be short $692,036.77 of the fully funded amount of $2,470,713, which would leave us 72% funded. As I said, this option would mean that the excess funds from 2020 would go towards the loan. So it is important to know that the interest rate on the loan is 4.15%, and the interest rate on the reserve account is 1%. That means that if the board chooses to contribute the excess 2020 funds towards the reserve instead of the loan, the association would make less money from having that money in the reserve than it would save that money towards putting that towards the loan. This also, this spreadsheet is meant to be as accurate as possible, but it's definitely not going to be 100% because the interest earned and what we do or don't decide to spend or save, or it's just to give the idea, just to give the board an idea of what could happen should we decide to do certain things.
If I may, Katie, I think this is an excellent report. I thank you for taking the time to compile it. To me, you have two parts. One of the questions, you use the term excess fund.
Yes.
People use the term surplus funds, one and the same, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So you have your reports on surplus funds, and separately you have your report on potential spending reductions, which can be used in the capacity we see fit.
Right.
Kind of two things. It's fair to say that there are two things.
Right.
I'd like to make a motion, if we can make a motion at this point. We can combine them or split them. I'll make a more general motion, and that motion would be to apply the surplus or excess funds and any savings that we vote individually to reduce spending toward the reserves. I'm not saying all of these, I'm saying the ones we individually.
Is this an item
So
related to the
this,
agenda?
the surplus of the reserve, of the 2020 is actually item Q under new business, if you guys would like to skip to
I'd like to
that.
make a motion to go out of order and address that.
Can I get a second?
I didn't look at the order of the agenda. Is the voting on the security and the management contract before that?
No, that's after.
Okay, we
Might as well skip it.
if we make a decision to cut security, we can apply that, my generic motion of the saving the association surplus.
There's a motion on the table to take the agenda out of order. Is there a second for that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. We're going out of order.
So my motion for Q is to apply the excess or surplus funds. And any of these savings items we individually vote on, whether that's this meeting or the next meeting. I don't know if they're on the agenda, some of them are, toward the reserves.
I'll second the motion so we can talk about it. But
Excuse me one
that's
second.
kind
Excuse me, sir. So, because we're in here, shouldn't we have some conversation, shouldn't you guys be having some conversation?
We're gonna have conversation right now.
That's what they're gonna do.
That's why he said he seconded the motion.
of, I second, so
Have
we
a
can talk
discussion.
about it. So, okay, so I'll second the motion so we can talk about it. As far as the surplus funds are concerned, I'm viewing that very separately from the savings
Right.
that you're suggesting, because
So the surplus funds are from 2020, so that's money that we left over that we did not.
right, we have that,
Right,
right.
right.
But when we talk about the savings, that's,
We would have to vote on cutting things and we would have to vote on not spending certain money on certain things.
well, then it seems to me if we're gonna go out of order, we need to go through those things first.
Yes.
All those things are not on the agenda.
Correct.
So my motion is when we get to those, whether that's tonight, whether that's,
Some of them are on the agenda.
that's it, all of them.
Yeah, that's,
Whether we get to them tonight or the next meeting, if we decide to cut any of these on her list,
Well, it wasn't my list, it was presented to me by management.
on this list,
On
On
this
this
list,
list.
I just copied and pasted what management
I just
gave.
said your list is you,
That's fine.
this list,
right.
if we decide to cut any, line by line, we would apply that balance to the surplus. If we don't decide to cut them, this savings amount could be zero. If we cut them all, it's 590,000. We can pick a few, we can go get to that as we go along. We don't need to go back to this with my motion. Leaves it open to be flexible on a line by line item.
I understand. Katie, some of that stuff we're presently not spending.
Right.
Can you explain why the finance committee, what their reasoning was in their recommendation?
Because of the interest on the loan, we would make less money from that money being put towards the reserve than we would save. I'm sorry, I'm saying this wrong. What did I say it was, 112?
It's four, if we pay off the loan, it's 4.1%. We dump it in the reserves, it's 1%.
It's 1%,
So
right,
we're
that's
losing
what-
money by putting it in the reserves, I believe is what you're saying.
Right.
We're missing out on that.
We get our reserve balance higher, but we would lose
Right.
money along.
We would end up spending $112,000 on interest because of the loan.
Over 10 years.
Yes. Unless we found some other way to pay off the loan before 2030. But the finance committee would prefer to put the money towards the loan so that because they don't have any interest.
What about the lump sum towards the loan and the savings towards the reserves?
That would be an option too. I was just trying to give as many options as possible to show what would do to the numbers of what would be.
It's not enough to be about 12 more tabs.
Don't the higher reserves give us financial flexibility if there's an unforeseen structural, for lack of a better term, problem in the community?
It does.
If we pay off the loan, the bank has that money back, we can't use it if we need it for something unforeseen. If it's in our reserves and they're funded at a more adequate level than they are, we can all agree that 48 or 46% is too low.
I don't see it as one or the other.
We have. It
No,
doesn't have-
I don't think my preference is to use the surplus, put that toward the loan, and then find the savings to pay for the irrigation to get the reserves back up. Those.
That's kind of how I feel about it too.
I do as well. Finance committee, the members there have financial backgrounds and such. They recommended putting the surplus from last year towards the loan. When I first heard it, which I didn't watch the meeting live, but then I went back and watched it, and I heard their reasoning for it. It made sense. Now, you say that the money in our reserve is earning 1%. I think we have some money market accounts that are earning even more than that, close to 2%. But regardless, it's still,
From what I
it's
was,
still not
from
making
what I
any
was
money.
told, it was not making.
It's not making the 4%.
It'll never make 4%.
It was,
It'll
yeah.
never make 4%. You can't invest anything that'll make 4%.
Again, like crypto.
Yeah, we took the surplus funds and just put it towards the loan. In fact, I was looking to, take money from our operating account and just pay off. So we're done with that. And then if we approve any other cost savings measures, and we already have this year, we'll continue to do more, then we would put that towards the reserve. Beat that or accomplishing two things.
Right.
We can put them on, see how it goes. And we'll make another vote.
What was yours?
That we put all of this toward the reserves.
Okay,
The surplus and anything we have.
okay, all in favor?
Right?
Any opposed?
No.
Any abstain?
I abstain.
Why abstain?
Oh, wait, was that tied 2-2?
Oh, but why would you abstain?
Because I'm not opposed to putting it towards reserve, I just prefer to put the surplus towards the loan.
Abstention is when you're absent, though.
It's not gonna change, it's not gonna change that.
Yeah,
What was the vote then?
3-1-0
but you said you weren't gonna abstain,
or 1-3,
right?
Keith, how did you vote?
I voted no.
I would like to make a motion that we took the surplus funds from 2020 and put it towards the loan.
Second.
The $390,000 and some change.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. So yeah, I said no. So Q, review and consider 2020 surplus funds. Those will all go towards the loan. We're going out of order, so suspend order to Q.
Yeah, now we go back.
Now we go back, okay. Katie, do you have anything else?
Nope, that was it.
That is a very detailed, very, very helpful report, thank you. Committee reports, design review committee.
So committee reports are just for your guys' review.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions about the committee reports? Okay, new business, review and consider meals provided by association for on-site staff. Tasha?
So this one, I'll let Katie take it away because it was something she has to be put on the agenda.
Okay.
So I don't know if you guys recall, but I emailed you a while back and I asked if you had ever voted on that policy to allow CCMC to use the association's credit card to pay for meals. And nobody had heard about it, so that caused concern to me. If CCMC uses credit card to do lunch, then we as a board need to approve that and put some kind of terms on it or limit or something for whatever circumstance. Otherwise, they should not be using it.
I'll make a motion to not permit that credit card to be used for meals for on-site staff.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Discussion.
For the members who don't know, the last time this was done was October 2020, and it was before the trick or treat event that we had at the park. It's usually when it's happened, is that management staff will buy the team lunch because they're gonna all be out there working, whether it's that trick or treat event or Celebratory Harvest Day or before the 4th of July. You know, they'll get this kind of, I don't know if you want to call it a reward, but it is if you're gonna be out there working on that event.
My opinion on that is I don't think we have the authority to spend members' money
And
on staff lunches. And if it's a generous thing to do, but if we're gonna do it, we either do it out of our pockets or CCMC should do it out of their pockets. We should do it. And that's-
One more time, Carrie?
Well, when you're talking about feeding the members, those are the people.
No, we're talking about feeding
Correct.
CCMC staff.
right, so CCMC should be paying for CCMC staff's lunch in these scenarios, in my opinion, not us as a homeowner association paying for CCMC staff to have lunch.
Like, I don't think that.
But if we agree to do that, then we need to have some kind of limit, otherwise, we have to have some kind of policy, otherwise they should not be using it, because if they're going to be spending, if they're gonna be using our credit card or something like that, they have to have our approval before they do that.
How many people are we talking about?
7 people.
7 people. How many times a month? How many times?
Hey, guys,
That was, yeah, that was.
I voted. All in favor to cancel those meals?
Wait, I'm still having a discussion on that, because if we have, I was thinking, because you mentioned an amount, if there was gonna be an amount, then it would be, let's say, $150 for an event, for one of those big events. Now, it could be argued that right now, we're not spending any money on events, so we should certainly would, have a cost to the association for buying members lunch, but if it was $150 to buy the management staff lunch, because they're putting on that event, that would be 3 cents per home.
I don't think that's a valid way to look at it. It's principle, it's not even
And I think that's fair.
talking about, it's only this much, I mean, I hear this all the time, it's only a cup of coffee at Dutch Brothers, it's only a meal at McDonald's. That's the way people go bankrupt. It's because, it's only this much, I can spend that, no problem, I can spend this much. But when it all adds up to spending beyond what you're taking in, you're bankrupt.
There's also something I found, somebody used the Amazon account to buy Advil. I saw it in the last, not this good receivable report, but the one before that. It was $8.20, which is, it's only $8.20, but at the same time, why are we having to pay for that? So that's something that concerns me too. But, want to go back to your vote, Keith?
No, one last
I'm ready when you guys are.
One last thing is that several years ago, it was discussed about, this was years ago, but it came before the board about doing bonuses for the management staff. I know in this script time, it said it's great, the board voted no against it, of course. So I guess then the meals for staff kind of falls into that same vote. And more importantly, go back to, we're not spending any money on social events. So that would be a cost to the association. So
I'm not trying to sway anybody on what they want to decide. I'm just saying if it's going to happen, the board has to have some kind of limit, has to be some kind of terms as to how this is done. The CCHC just can't do it without our approval, that's all I'm saying.
Is there a budget for each social event? Katie?
Yes,
So, and you make sure I know what we're talking about.
Sorry.
We're talking about, we're not doing it flat out, or it needs approval.
The motion is about.
The motion on the floor
I'm
is not
saying
to
that
approve it.
if it's going to be done, we as a board have to agree to it, and there should be some kind of term, if that's how we vote.
Okay.
We can save that discussion until we vote on the keys.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to sway anybody one way or the other. I have my own opinion on what I would like, but I'm just saying.
I understand.
Okay.
The motion is not
Can I-
allowed.
Can I just say something too, in regards to the Advil and the aspirin, the reason why that was purchased is for the first aid kit that's inside of the office. We were just replenishing because it had been depleted. So it wasn't like the staff is using the aspirin, it was utilized for the first aid kit that the association owns.
So,
Well, how was it used?
yeah.
It was,
Probably orally.
we don't know, I mean, we were just replenishing what was already there, it's not for office staff.
But it was the first emergency first aid kit was consumed by who? Yeah, no.
it expired.
No.
Okay, so it wasn't that someone buying it for their home with their own card.
Correct.
Fair enough. Not to get into the conversation, you asked how often this happens. The last time was October 2020. So we're talking how many times a year, not day, week, or month. Just for your
That was-
reference.
There was,
Sorry.
it has.
The last time this happened was October 2020 that meals were bought for anybody on staff. So it's not a regular thing. It was 7 months ago was the last time. You asked how often are we talking?
But I'm saying over the course of a year.
2-3 times maybe.
So 2-3 times a year for 7 people.
Right.
Once we get the budget under control, that is not unreasonable.
I just want to let you know the frequency. We're not
That's
going to have
not
a
an
conversation.
unreasonable thing.
Let's go to the vote, please.
Okay, so we're voting on to cancel those meals paid for on the credit card for the on-site staff. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. Next, review and consider draft for the social media policy. Tasha, go ahead.
So this was just the policy that was drafted and sent over to corporate counsel. So this is what has come back and is being presented to the board of directors this evening.
It says red line, but I don't see any red line marks on it. It's just the final version.
This is the final version, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the social media policy.
Second.
We got any questions?
I have some discussion.
Go ahead.
I think in general, I think the thing is too long, too wordy, too vague. I think it needs to be substantially rewritten and short quite a bit. Some of the specific objections I have, let's see. Under use by owners, it restricts access to all social media by login. That only applies to the website. There's some other social media, the Facebook, the Instagram, whatever else we have. Those don't require logins. Anybody in the world can access that, if I understand it correctly.
Say that again, Phil, I'm sorry.
The paragraph that says use by owners of official association sponsored social media. It says it may only be accessed and used by residents of the association. That's impossible right now. We have it set up.
Gotcha.
So that should be changed. We can't force it. Under content management, I think that oversteps the authority of the association, if I understand it correctly. I think that should be changed to the association reserves the right to delete any comments, that's fine. And kick people off, but then it goes on to say appropriate enforcement action. That, what the action should be specified, because that makes me think that you might be considering fining people. Which I don't think we have the authority to do for that. The only revenue really is to remove the content and ban people from those sites.
Some more clarification on that?
Yes. Under board director and committee member conduct, that's much too vague when you're saying words like, this apparently applies to all social media. Or is it should be specified that it's only the official social media again, even though I infer that. But it says they, all board director and committee members must refrain from posting content that attacks, abuse, which abuses, or harasses, violates the privacy of hurtful, offensive, or damaging to, or defames any current or former employee. That's all way too vague. Who's gonna police it to determine what's hurtful, what's offensive, what's abuse, what's harassment? Because those, it puts us in the position of being social media police, and I don't think we want to do that. I think if you want to avoid all that entirely, just turn off all the comments on Facebook and Instagram. That would avoid most of the problems that are out on computers. During employee conduct, paragraph 2. Says the employee should not, enter agreements of process transactions on social media networks. It's written that sentence is incomprehensible. I think something's left out of it.
Which paragraph is that?
It's underneath on that second paragraph sentence. And then the last paragraph, last sentence there on page 3 says, they agreed to an amicable for the sake of the association. There's something left out of that sentence as well. I can't find it right now. There's a reference somewhere to, oh, there it is, it's the rules. It's the next thing under user interaction engagement. Paragraph 4 says, hate speech and bullying will not be tolerated. Again, that's too vague. Those are not well defined unless you can provide a definition. Somewhere refers to grievances. I can't find that right now. It says, no, oh, there it is. It's in the second, number 2 there. All content must be posted in good nature. Grievances should not be aired on social media. So that means that you can't complain or address a grievance that you have against the association, that just turn off all the comments because they're useless.
Katie, you got anything?
Nope.
Well,
But Bill brings up some great points on those things. I was under the impression that we had seen this before, and I guess we're just waiting for them to do it the first time now, and I think we need to spend some time.
okay, so are we ready to vote?
I would move that we give this back to staff to rewrite it.
Well, there's a motion already, so we just need to vote
Oh,
on
There's a
that.
motion,
yeah,
vote on it, so we have-
motion to approve, right?
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Any abstain? Okay, the motion does not carry. Do we
Yeah,
need a motion to
yeah,
send
yeah,
that
how do
back?
you vote?
I voted in favor of it.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to?
I'd like to
Gonna be a
motion
vote.
to
Yes.
table this.
No, it's a postponement.
Postpone
Take turns.
And Dr. Askey, in the future, when we have policies of this sort, can we get them farther in advance than the 5 days?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Absolutely.
I'd like a chance to really proofread it, and then I can give you better input too, so I can send you back a copy.
Do you make a motion?
Make a motion to postpone.
To postpone this to the next meeting, and then wait for it, it's time to review it, perhaps even via email, we can come up with a draft policy, get corporate counsel to approve it, and be all ready to go.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. That will be postponed. Postponed? Postponed.
Yeah, we'll be postponed.
Okay, review and consider committee charters.
So this was just kind of a carryover from the social media stuff, that the management said we would just review the committee charters, and just take a look at them. I did list out, social media management recommends the following change, and I went ahead and put the actual charters in there just with the highlight on the areas that we thought might need to be changed. So for the social lifestyle, C, to remove the verbiage in the second bullet point listing which states the following: if at any time a member chooses to no longer serve on the committee, an open vacancy will be advertised to the Providence residents and applications will be considered to fill the vacancy. We just brought that up because that doesn't happened that I'm aware of.
Sure.
Regarding, what's that? No. And then regarding the Finance Committee Charter, management recommends the following change to remove the verbiage under with the reporter heading, which states that the secretary shall keep the minutes of the meeting because that's management's duty.
And up for DRC.
And DRC, I didn't find one at all. So
That's addressed in the declaration.
got it.
I'd like to make a motion to approve those two small changes.
Second.
I have some other changes to this too. Where it starts now, therefore be it resolved that the social lifestyle committee shall, this is picky, but that should be, you should be able to read that as the first sentence of all of these with the dots, bullet points. And it says, if you read it, the first one makes sense, shall consist of no more than 7. Then it says, shall each member will serve a 1-year term. That should be rewritten just to make grammatical sense. Several things are like that. These are not good, I apologize. Oh, on the second page, the first thing says, work to modify and sustain a welcome wagon program for community homeowners. Work to modify and sustain should be changed. It's just one wording. There's two things about assisting the director. It's pretty much the same wording to those. One says assist the holiday decorating committee. We don't have a holiday decorating committee, as far as I'm aware. So again, that should all be gone through and be written to clean it up. It takes a lot of time.
It's probably an ad hoc committee.
Haven't even heard of it. And then on the finance one, not as much. See if I can find it.
Take these two small ones and take care of yours at the next meeting. That's fine. You don't have to take it, make it, so it's the changes.
Yeah, no, I'd like to just go again. I move we have a motion on the table.
Just to approve these two, we can't do more next time.
Well, I want to approve them in this state. Why don't we fix them and then? Okay, we can vote on it, but let me point out some of these other things it says in the finance committee one. Under roles and responsibilities. It says 3, work with the management staff to drafting of the annual budget. That needs to be.
I'm gonna send you an email after the meeting, Phil, just to kind of get your notes.
Did we already put a motion out there?
There is a motion to approve.
Okay. Again, motion to approve these two changes to the committee charters. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Motion does not carry.
Is there a reason why the neighborhood advisory committee charter is not in?
No, it should be in there, Phil. It was-
There's also a general committee, I don't remember what it's, I don't think it's called charter, there's general committee guidelines document.
So we need to make a motion to postpone this with regards to the next meeting.
Yep.
Can I make that motion?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. Review and consider committee confidentiality agreements.
So again, this stems from the same social media outlet that we've been talking about. So we just wanted to take a look at the confidentiality agreement, which right now is only applicable for the Nevada Advisory Committee, the NAC, are the only ones that actually signed this confidentiality
The
agreement.
financial committee signed something, it was a different agreement.
It's a commitment form.
Okay, that's all they signed?
Right,
Right.
so our recommendation would be to revise the verbiage in the one provided to NEC and ensure that all committees get this form.
I have some serious concerns with this, because it talks about,
I make a motion to postpone this to the next meeting, and we go over divisions such as Bill and everybody else has.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Thank you, Walt. Motion carries. Review and consider on-site account.
This one's
Katie?
mine. Yeah, this
Go
one's
ahead.
mine. I think it's absolutely horrendous that we have 3 lifestyle positions and no on-site accountant for all financial stuff. I would really like to have somebody in the office doing the accounting and not have it to someplace offsite, because I keep finding things and I keep having questions, and it's kind of,
Katie, you wanna make a motion?
I make motion to hire an accountant.
Second.
Hey, ain't that gonna cost money?
Second,
And well, unfortunately, a little
Approximately
bit.
$75,000.
hang on,
It's gonna be, the lifestyle director costs us $94,000 a year. This account's gonna cost us.
Hang on,
to get it.
hang Katie, okay, so I made a lot of phone calls about this week, and I got the idea that that person couldn't even work here, is that right? They have to be in a separate building, they're not supposed to be here with these guys.
Who said that?
Shoot, I must have made a dozen phone calls, but they said that that person, because it has to be separate from these guys. I can find out.
That sounds like they're referring to an accountant who's doing an audit, not.
Yeah,
Not a
like,
staff.
audit, yeah, but someone who's doing see, that's the thing, I've heard that companies have said that their accounting has to be off-site.
Yeah,
But is that for the insurance purposes? Because it's never actually been explained to me, because there are management companies that have accounting in the same office.
oh, sure, who are you talking about, each way?
Yes.
Yeah,
So I don't understand
why did they say that?
Well, I don't understand why this person has to be off-site, because they're not doing auditing, they're not doing, reviews, they're just doing the daily.
I didn't know that
Larry,
until,
Jeremy, either, do you have any input on that?
All of ours is centralized, that's another.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't hear you, Jerry.
There's a separation of duties there, so if somebody is doing something,
Katie,
So what he's saying is that their off-site company, their off-site office, everybody has their own tasks and stuff, so that's why they're also not working on just Providence, they're working on multiple communities.
actually,
And there's enough work for somebody to do that here in office, and also I'm finding a bunch of stuff that should be caught, it's not being caught.
so I didn't think to question it, because I don't know anything about that, I just call and get some opinions from some different communities and some different management companies.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't think to ask the question, but you're saying that's not accurate, that person does not have to be separate from these guys.
I've never heard that accounting person has to be separate.
Okay,
I've never heard it. I know that companies have said that, but they've actually never explained to me why. But
well, that's true.
I don't know if it's because of their insurance, I don't know, but I've
Okay.
never heard, it's not in the law that the accounting person has to be off-site.
I'll figure out who I was talking to
Okay.
at the time, I could do that.
And if they do say that, I would really like to know.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
I would vote in favor of having an accountant here, but only if we offset that by getting rid of one of the other staff positions that's approximately the same ones.
Okay, well,
Staffing is 100% up to the board discretion. We can cut positions, we can add positions, we can tell management that we only want to spend this much on salaries, and they'll make it happen. I was thinking that we could probably lose a couple of positions, or maybe reduce salaries or something like that. I don't like the idea of hiring an extra person, well, not an extra, you're talking about replacing it, and that makes a little more sense, but I don't want to spend more money. The gentleman's position before, you're not gonna spend your money out of a hole.
Right, that's true,
So if you're saying.
but I'm
Replace it
finding,
with another position.
I'm finding a lot of errors that I should not be finding, that should be fixed somewhere. But because we don't have a dedicated, there's not one person just working on finances for Providence. And anybody who's working on the finances for Providence are working on multiple other communities. So I'm finding things that are easy errors, and there's stuff that somebody along the line should be catching it before I do.
Are there errors as far as just things not being properly in the right category? It's not like
Well,
money's missing.
when the income statement comes out 3 months in a row and they're for the reserves and it's not correct, that's a huge sign that somebody is not looking at this stuff that should be looking at it. So if it's not gonna be done through shared services, and I have to be the one looking at it every time, fine, I will do that, but I shouldn't have to be going through every month comparing and making sure that the income statement's right, and we are a big enough community, we have a big enough budget, we have 9 people that are supposed to be on staff, but no one for accounting. That's not okay. The most important part of the association is the finances and making sure that the financials are being prepared correctly, and that we get correct income statements. And I'm a volunteer, and I'm spending hours of my time looking at this stuff every month. And I shouldn't have to be doing this much in-depth work. It should be being prepared correctly. And if that means that we need to hire somebody to do it, then let's hire somebody to do it.
Kate, are you able to, quantify in any way, what those pairs get? I know that's an impossible question.
I mean, it's hard to tell. It's
Yeah.
just, it's stuff that, like, for instance, the double billing that happened. That's something that if you're doing HOA accounting and you catch that stuff fast.
Sure.
And you don't catch it if you're not looking at it. So the fact that homeowners had to start calling, one or two people, okay. The entire communities, if the entire community gets double billed and nobody notices until people start calling, that's a big error to make.
Yeah. How much conversation have you had with people in Scottsdale about that?
Quite a bit. I've actually, it's been suggested that the person who's responsible for doing the finances come to the committee meetings.
You talking about somebody from Scottsdale?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Instead of hiring somebody, I just not.
Jeremy, is the person in Scottsdale she's referring to a dedicated person to our account, not just our account, but it's always the same person?
Yes.
How many accounts does that person have? More than one?
Yeah, one home.
More than two?
Yes.
Is this even a full-time job,
Yes, it is.
in your opinion?
All three, possibly.
All three what?
All three levels of responsibilities of your general ledger account.
I can't hear you.
So they have three separate areas. So they have somebody who does the general ledger, they have somebody who does account receivables, and then account payables, third one. So they have three, so it's not just one person working on it, it's three separate departments working on them.
There's no problem with that. one person doing all
I've never seen anything saying that it's a problem to have it. It's enough work for one person to do. And if your only job is Providence Financials, then you have the time to do it correctly, so.
Jeremy or Larry over there, what is the benefit to having a dedicated account on site? In your opinion?
Benefit is the case of they won't be working on the accounts here. The concern that I have is just that separation of duties. Have three separate people. One person wants to put the money in, and one person wants to put the money out, and one person tracking. So it's all three separate people. So you have three different people keeping an eye on financials. So if somebody's doing something that should be done.
You will also see on your insurance renewal applications, that is the primary question they ask is, does the individual that has access to, or that brings in money, do they have access to also send money out? So that is a question on your application that will potentially cause concerns to your premiums for your insurance in the event that is done by one person.
Should we vote?
Yeah. All in favor of hiring an on-site accountant, say.
Before we do that, can I ask you to amend your motion to balance that with eliminating all the other staff positions? I want to vote for the accountant, but I can't do it. I'm going to offset it with David or something.
But then he just said that there was a part of the questionnaire that said, is this person going to be handling both accounts receivable and accounts payable? That sounds like there could be a conflict for you guys to get ready to make a motion. Why don't we find out whether or not that's the case?
We could have somebody, okay, whoever's taking in the money, posting the payments, could still be shared services, but anything else could be done in office. So that it's not the same person who's bringing in and sending out money.
I asked you this before, but I'll ask you again. What would you pay that person?
No less than 60,000. They, you guys said 75-ish. They said that it would cost about 75,000.
Plus or minus 10 to 15,000 is their estimate, so 60 to 90.
Yeah.
Okay, just to let you know, right now we're paying total cost for lifestyle director is $94,598.
Say that again, please. That money that you put in there, Jeremy, the 75,000, does that include all the benefits, everything that we're like?
Yeah. But the total package for the lifestyle director is $94,598. So if you get rid of that position and bring on an accountant, you should actually save money if their estimated costs are out there. Right now, the director of lifestyle is doing things like setting up Jindo, where 5 families participate. There's only a handful. If you go back and watch the last committee meeting for lifestyle, it's very small participation. The biggest thing they have is food trucks, which they said was 175 people, which is still a minuscule portion of the members of the association. And we don't need a director of lifestyle to arrange food trucks. I'm sure we have plenty of staff time where a staff member can do that easily on their own, or a volunteer from the committee. As Rod said, volunteers from the committee, I think, are being underutilized. They can do a lot of this stuff for that, we're paying a fairly large amount of money to have directors.
Do we need to amend a motion? What's the motion that's out there right now?
Katie has to want to amend her motion, first of all.
Yeah, Bill has asked Katie to amend her motion.
I think, Keith, didn't you make the motion?
No, you did.
Oh, I seconded it.
Okay,
So we
then
can
I
talk
need
about
to
it.
amend it?
You have to.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to, I would like, I vote to, whatever I need to do. Okay, I need to amend it to say that,
You're gonna cut another position,
to cut another position. There we go.
and, Bill, did you have a specific position? Was lifestyle a part of that amendment, or? Bill? Was the lifestyle
That's
position?
my preference, but it's her motion to amend.
I know, I'm just, that's what.
Katie, you want me to do it?
Sure.
Okay.
Wait, no, it's her motion.
It could be that
We could just pick any position at this point. I didn't.
So you amend your motion to say you approve the, on-site accountant?
So, okay, I will say, I will amend it to say that, hire an accountant here with lifestyle. Or maybe there's
There's 4 positions though that wouldn't pay, that we don't pay as much as we would pay for the account. The only positions we would pay as much or more are director of lifestyle, director of operations, community manager, assistant community manager.
So there's so many titles I'm keeping that I get the social.
So
use
that
of
is
lifestyle.
director of lifestyle,
Okay, so
I'm pretty sure is the one that does the least.
Does her amendment need to be seconded?
Yes.
I will second
The amendment.
Katie's amendment.
She doesn't specify who's going to be eliminated.
She said lifestyle.
She said lifestyle. Yeah.
Okay. You ready to vote?
no. So the motion is that we would hire an accountant,
Yes.
replacing the lifestyle director.
Get rid of lifestyle.
So currently, we have no spending on lifestyle events. They'd be happening with sponsors and things like that.
But we're not looking for sponsors.
What's that?
But we're not looking for sponsors. We're just.
Committee members can do that.
And then the biggest thing in my mind as far as lifestyle events is the Independence Day celebration. Now, if that were to happen and it was sponsored by people, then many people in the community would be happy with it. Because it didn't cost the association anything, and we have one of our biggest events happening again. Now, that's a if, because I know the world, pandemic world we live in. But that is a huge event, and it would need somebody to plan
It's not gonna happen.
This year.
You cut the lifestyle, right, cut the lifestyle, it's not gonna happen.
So do we
No, that's what I'm
have a
saying.
Right.
committee, or is there some
There's
sort
a
of?
social lifestyle committee.
Yes.
Okay, so what's the purpose of the committee, board members? Right? You want to eliminate a position and you're worried about who's gonna do the job. If you have a committee for that function, then utilize the committee for the function.
That's not the function of the committee.
Make it the function of the committee.
Well,
Like, you guys control what people do, so do your doggone job.
I understand.
Put that responsibility on somebody and cut the
Sir,
position out of the job.
Sir, we'll have an open forum when we're done, and
So you guys are making this very difficult is what you're doing.
I'm trying to get some work done.
No, you're really not, because you're putting motions up. This gentleman right here is saying things are incorrect. You two are moving motions forward
I understand,
that are incomplete, and he's telling you they're incomplete.
I understand.
So if you don't want to do your job, sir, Mr. President,
Okay,
then resign.
okay, I understand. Well, so if we cut the lifestyle, And then it's just flatly not
If
gonna
we
happen, you know.
can cut the lifestyle director position.
Yeah.
And of course, there's certainly an argument for that,
Sure.
and we didn't hire the accountant, then we just went down one less position, we saved a ton more.
What are you talking about by not hiring the accountant?
Not hire the accountant and not have a lifestyle director, then we're saving a ton more.
So I think we're getting just a little bit off the rails.
But
So, see, but what we got is the, Katie's amended motion to cut lifestyle and hire an onsite account. Phil, did you second that?
No, you didn't.
I seconded it. Are we ready to vote? You got anything else?
I'm just mulling it over in my head.
Well, you got anything else?
The accountant, you think the money is worth spending on the accountant?
Or much better.
It's better than an accountant, I'm not disagreeing with that.
Lifestyle director's job right now is to entertain.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm saying to not have either. Be better.
I think Katie's right, we do need the accountant.
If, let me put it this way, if I didn't have to look at the financials as much as I did, then I would say, let's just get rid of it. But I'm spending a lot of time looking at
And the
finances.
accountant
And-
position should fix that.
Yes, it's the stuff that I should
I understand
have
that,
to be looking
you know,
at this and.
And we're extremely lucky that we have Katie to do this, because she knows what she's doing.
Right.
Normal board, this stuff is, we don't buy, no cash.
So
Katie's not always gonna be on the board. So it is very much.
you know, the way management office is run, is, you know, everybody helps each other out. So like a homeowner comes in and asks a question about the service administration person working at the front desk down to lunch, the accountant can come and answer those questions. Okay.
Who would do this work with the accountant, about the,
What's that?
who would do this work with the accountant about the equipment?
Another accountant, just like the community manager.
Same person that's doing it now? No one?
You can ask, say that about any staff position.
Ready to vote?
Yeah, okay, so all in favor of, hiring an accountant at the expense of the lifestyle director, that's fine, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Nay. Motion carries.
Who's the nay?
I was there.
Voted in favor? You said no, you said no.
Okay, review and consider the post publication.
So this is back at it for the post, and so this is my outline of just some of the things we were working on between meetings. The first thing is that I did meet with and reach out to Print to Order, who is the current publisher for the post, just to discuss some cost saving ideas, and he had stated that he was going to come back with an email that had those cost saving ideas, and after several follow-ups with him via email as well as phone, he just didn't provide them. So I
I
just
would
want
like to make a motion that we, I don't know, if postpone or whatever, but we stop doing the post until the board directs management otherwise. In the meantime, two-part motion, we also go out to bid for the post.
I second just for the sake of conversation.
Okay, I think it, you know, I like the post, that's how I like to get my news, I like getting mail, but I'm good letting it go.
Also, I'd like to point out about the post is that everything that goes out with the board's name on it, we should all be approving.
Sure.
So,
So the problem with postal, everybody knows, is the newsletter that comes in mail every 2 months, it's a large expense for the association. You may notice that on off months, you used to get Providence Plus, not the Providence Plus, it's just called Plus. And the same vendor who does the post, they send out the Plus. They have more advertising in there, and they allow us to put something in there, but it's really, they just put in some feel-good articles to it. They
Pretty
do
much
that.
the post, too.
yeah.
That could be an argument, but it's That they do at no cost to the association, they do on their own for free. And then they charge us a bunch of money for the post, which we have total control over, but, so my thought was there's some compromise there to get a reduced cost. You know, one of the reasons why the post has to be, or I shouldn't say post has to, something has to be mailed out, there's notification of fee, that's law required, you have to do that. And we're doing that properly now, thank you, Phil, for stepping up. But we can do that on the postcard, we have in the past. It's possible that we can even get advertising on that postcard to make it even less cost to the association. So
We got a lot of big numbers that we're working with, and that just to me seems like something that's, we can concede.
It's a lot of money, and as a board member, when I get it in the mail and I haven't seen any of these articles, and I know that anything that goes out in the board's name, we as the board have to approve it, it's irritating to me, but it's not my highest thing on the list to fight. But there are much cheaper ways that we could be doing this, and.
But you did read my article though, right?
if print to order
Yes.
can do their own.
Because I mentioned you.
I did, I appreciate it, I read it once I got it though. My point is that like, before it gets sent out to every homeowner, we as a board should be approving all these.
Oh,
articles.
yeah, no, I agree,
And that's not
but
happening,
that's moot
yeah,
if we're gonna even continue doing it.
right.
If print to order could do their own magazine for free, but they charge us for hours, and then we ask for a compromise, and he doesn't come back to us, it's like, let's go get a different vendor.
I think
If we have a bidder at all.
This
I mean,
seems
go out
like
to bid and.
I have another
association
point too.
do it.
When we combine the fluff articles and stuff that looks like it's from a high school newspaper with the important notices, you're getting people less likely to read the important notices. If you have an important notice, I think it's much better to put it by itself on a postcard or a letter than to combine it with all this other stuff, because I think it makes, the way we post now makes it more likely to just be thrown straight in the trash.
So you motioned to table
He motioned to postpone the post until further notice that the board gives us permission to move forward with it and to go out to bid for the contract.
We have a contract with print to order,
Yes,
so we cancel our contract with print to order?
Wait, I specifically asked for a copy of it at one point, so we didn't have a contract.
I believe it's an agreement for the post.
Yeah, I'm
It's
saying
not a
cancel
contract.
our
Right, yes, I'm sorry, it's
Or
an
if we
agreement.
have that.
Is there any difference between this firing them, like, the postponing, what does that mean?
We asked them, as you can see in the memo here, that, hey, give us some cost saving ideas, they gave us nothing.
Right.
So there's.
So let's just say zero, no more posting.
Yeah, and if we decide later we want to do it, we just re-up it. It's not like we're breaking a contract.
And I don't agree with going out to bid right now. We should just get rid of the postcards.
That's the motion on the table, you guys can certainly
Did
vote
you
on.
happen to find out how much it would cost to send an insert with a statement saying, hey, this is the next meeting notice this week? Something like that?
No, but I can definitely get that last week, please.
What are you talking? Insert
Talking about
in the post?
No,
For the
it's
state-
a
No,
statement.
we've been asking for these costs since I got on the board, and I still haven't seen anything. We've been asking for a cost comparison for mailings and the post, which I don't think we've got one yet.
There's a cost comparison in here.
In this one.
Yeah,
Can we vote on Walt's proposal to, I don't know, pause it?
to pause and go out to bid is what, the motion on the table right now.
Okay, all in favor?
Before we go, what are we going out to bid for?
For the post, that's what his motion is for. To pause
To
the
just have
post
an
with,
alternative printer, print the same thing?
yes, that's what.
At
the
a lesser
motion-
cost. If we decide to go,
Okay. I'm not gonna approve that because I don't wanna go out to bid for another post, and pay more money than we need to pay. It's gonna cost more than a postcard, no matter what.
Then you'll vote it down.
So, no, but what I think,
okay,
I don't wanna vote it down
I'm
and
going
get
to
stuck
amend my
with the
motion.
post as is though.
Well, I think let's make another motion.
Okay.
all right,
Well,
I
let's do another
rescind my
motion.
motion.
Fine.
I'll
Perfect.
put out the motion, let's postpone the post until further notice, further approval by the board.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? All right.
I'd also like to make a
Here.
motion for management to go out to bid for the post.
Bid for the post or bid for other ways to send out the notices that we send out? Because we are not required to send out a magazine with a bunch of articles.
We're
All
not
we're required to do is send out notices for what we need noticed by law. So,
Going out to bid doesn't cost us anything,
right,
and it doesn't mean that we have to approve it.
Okay, so.
But just to see what's out here.
Okay, so bid for something like the Post, like some kind of magazine, but then also just bid for just the regular notices by law that we need to notice.
Are you gonna come up with a request for proposal? Or give Tasha the elements that you want included in that?
I will amend my motion to direct management to come up with a request for proposal, put it out to bid.
Second.
And if management doesn't make that request for a proposal, then we don't get bids and nothing changes. Nothing changes anyway until the board directs otherwise.
Did you second that, Keith?
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Katie?
I'm a little confused because there are still notices that we're gonna have to send out by law, so meeting notice.
Right.
So if we say that we're not gonna do the Post, okay, then we still have to do a meeting notice. So how,
So, yeah,
a
I
postcard?
would suggest a postcard.
Okay, so could we say the postcard in the meantime?
You have to notice.
Well, they're gonna have to do it.
Yeah, because we're gonna
Yeah.
have to, if we don't, if we don't decide this,
Well, yeah, we would do that, we would just do that
so
because
it's
it's
a
a,
postcard in the meantime until we, so
Correct.
basically,
Yeah, that's already
no more posts, in the meantime, we'll do postcards, okay?
Right.
Okay, then, yes, then I will vote for that, that's, yes.
Your yes is whether we go out and bid for a new post or not.
So I'm not,
You want us to solicit bids for a new post.
no,
Okay, motion does not carry. Next is review and consider directional signs from builder Tasha.
so this was asked, to be put on here by Katie, I think when she is walking her babies, she's been seeing these directional signs
Yeah.
from the developer.
I've seen this a lot, I've heard people commented on Facebook, I've actually have thought about this before, the directional signposts that have been here for 14 years, and we only have like one community that's being built. I've asked why, people are asking why are they still up, and I asked if this had ever been discussed before, and I was told that it's not been discussed, so I was like, okay, well then let's put it on there, see what we gotta do.
Yeah.
Was told that it's gonna cost $8,000 if we remove it, each. So the townhomes, once they are built, they will remove that, so this is
I'll
kind
put
of
it
a.
in to do it for that.
Yeah, this is kind of a moot point now, because I didn't realize that they were actually still being utilized, but apparently some of them are actually still empty, but some of them do have
Right,
townhouses on them. And when I asked this, they were all empty still, so.
So to your point, that has never been discussed, it's been discussed multiple times in this room. You were gonna say something, Rick?
Just to clarify, those signage, the direction signage, they do belong to the builders council. and
Right.
The builders council is responsible for them.
That's what I
So
found.
focus, yes, so focus development and builders council upon completion of Thrive will be removing those because the signs are approximately $8,000 a piece.
Right.
And so the board, the association did not want to look at, taking those on because you have to have them to your reserve study because they are an asset.
And removing at no cost.
Yes, because they will remove them and place back the landscaping at their expense because they belong to them.
Very good.
Which entity is responsible for that?
The builders council.
Focus?
Yeah.
Yeah, the builders council for Providence, so
Is that,
it's the Cliffs Edge Builders.
are they still
Council.
active?
They are, yes, they still are
Do
active.
they have any new developments, or are they gonna go out of business like the developer?
They're
just
slated-
Keely Road?
They're slated to go out of business, the builders council will cease action as soon as Thrive.
What, I think we need to have management stay on top of that then, to make sure they do it before they go out of business. We're gonna end up like Keely Road, where they're not being paved.
So in regards to these message boards, do you see them? Are they dilapidated, are they beat up at all?
No, I was just wondering why they had never been removed, and when I asked the question, I wasn't given an answer, so I asked.
It has been discussed many times. I brought up, why don't we utilize those? And the reason is that they're not ours yet, but we can put on there Chestnut Hill this way,
No,
Kensington that way, or whatever we want to put on there. We could put,
we could, but we don't need to, they're on.
are they?
Yes.
Well, they're gonna pull them at their cost. and
My
the
thought was
folks
that at
want-
the time when I asked this, they were all empty, and I was wondering why they were still up, and that's
So-
why I asked, and wasn't told anything, but now I understand why they're there, so I'm not suggesting that we take them down because of the cost.
No, you were right to ask, so is there anything to vote on?
No,
Okay.
That's your board action. But I'm just letting you guys know, I think that there's a resource there that if Focus doesn't take them out, if we recommend, hey, you guys don't have to take them out. We can utilize them for our own benefit. Whatever signage.
I don't see any benefit from us having something more maintained for this first.
Review and consider CPR training and certification for on-site staff. Tasha?
So this came up, it had come up back, I want to say last February in 2020, right before COVID, that we were getting some, asking for some pricing through Securitas. Their company offers CPR training. And then COVID hit and that never happened. So it just came up again. Securitas had asked if we were still interested in that pricing. And the reason that we do that is because there's an emergency management plan in place that has verbiage that requires management to have that training.
Do we want to table this till after the courtesy patrol discussion? Because did you just say Securitas?
Yes, that's what it said.
Well, I actually have a question about this. Do we have to make a motion before I ask a question or?
Yeah, you guys need to make a motion to discuss.
Can I make the motion to discuss?
Of course.
Second.
Can I make a motion to discuss? There's a Providence Emergency Management Plan.
Yeah, I need a copy of that.
It's in your board copy. It's back there. The board back. Is it?
And so we would be responsible for paying for CPR training for you guys? For this plan, or how did this come about? I've never heard of an association about one before.
I would like to make a motion that we do not spend the $495 to train management CPR training.
Second.
Well, could you amend your motion to also remove it from the emergency action plan? Do you want to have it in the plan, but then not have it trained?
I think the emergency management plan needs to be reviewed anyways. Yeah, I'll put that in a separate motion.
So do we want to vote on the training and certification for on-site staff?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
The motion is to not spend the money.
Wait. No, the motion is,
To discuss. Katie made a motion to discuss it.
Okay.
There was a
Well,
motion.
my motion to.
yeah, we can't,
Any motion?
well, we
to
can't
discuss?
vote on Katie's motion to discuss. Actually, all in favor to discuss, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay, any abstained, motion carries. Now we get the Walt's motion.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Walt's motion was?
To not spend the $495 on the CPR training for management.
Very good. Katie seconded, and all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries. Next, review and consider common area.
Hold on.
I think
Well,
Walt
are
had
you
another
gonna make a motion to amend the emergency action plan?
That's not on the agenda. We can't properly take action on that.
Can we have it on the next agenda, then, please?
Yes.
Let's get on the next.
That will give us contact information.
You just fired somebody. Okay.
Review and consider common area sidewalk safety issues proposal. Tasha?
That's Janie.
Jody, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Precision Concrete comes out once a year, and so in this year, they did give us 249 locations at our parks to eliminate trip hazards. So they did provide 3 different options. The least pricey option is doing 1/2 inch and above, and so that's at a price of $10,898.44 for a total number of 75 trip hazards. They also presented one for $22,801.57, and that's doing 208 trip hazards at 3/8 of an inch and above. And then to do all of their hazards, it's $25,545.32. And so this is just shaving down the concrete instead of replacing the concrete.
So the concrete, like the passive part that just kind of grow uneven, that type of thing?
Has staff verified each of these places to make sure it needs to be done?
I've walked their trailers.
You verified all ones?
Yeah, on the map that they
Okay,
provided.
and you agree that they're hazards?
I trip a lot, so.
So everything's a hazard?
I'm a hazard to myself.
This was one of the emails that I meant to send out, that's like, we get some pictures for it.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with this, but the date on it is February 15th, and we're just seeing it on this agenda. This sort of thing I would like some time to actually go out and look at.
Would we have to pay with this, put this as reserve?
No, this is operating fee. This is a maintenance item.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with Phil saying it and postponing it, but, that's a liability to wait till.
I do agree that it's a liability, because once we know about a trip hazard, the city trips, we're on the hook big time for it.
Katie is absolutely right.
At this point, but I would like to have had this back in February when we got the estimate. So I'm saying, in the future, instead of dumping everything on us 5 days before a meeting, as soon as you get it, as soon as you know it's gonna be on the agenda, send it to us.
No problem.
I'll make a motion to approve, the proposal to repair the common area sidewalk seat issues.
Second.
Can you say which amount?
25,000.
Yeah, for which option?
I'm not seeing the 25,000,
Yeah.
I'm seeing 8,000 a bunch of times.
They have together. 8,324. I think it's,
Oh, so it's sectioned off, so it's, this is, okay, that makes sense.
Different reasons.
Your motion is for all of the long.
Yeah.
These motions for all of these, still second that,
Yeah,
okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. Review and consider proposal to paint park restrooms.
That's gonna be me again. We do get a lot of correspondence from homeowners in regards to the park restrooms, that they just feel that they're dingy and that the paint is chipping, and so they are. We did get an estimate for $3,266, and then that would be a reserve item. So your 2020 reserve does have the renovating cost at $20,000, and that's tentatively scheduled for 2027.
What does the renovation include? It's more than painting, obviously.
It didn't break it down, but I would assume any.
Replacing any of the
Overall, probably the fixtures inside.
The other question I had is, the estimate has both eggshell and semi-gloss. Why are they using eggshell in these bathrooms at all?
It would need semi-gloss.
I think the whole thing should be semi-gloss.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And that, it didn't include the floor either?
The painting of course,
Yeah, it just says walls.
Oh, I know.
ceilings, and floors.
but if you,
I don't remember. I know that the bathroom at Huckleberry was pretty bad. I don't remember if the floor was bad too. I think it was. That's why my grandson won't go in because he says it's scary.
He's not wrong.
And see, that was the one I was surprised was in here because that was relatively new, 5 years versus the other one.
Yeah,
It's
well,
trash.
we make a motion. Make a motion to approve the proposal to paint park restrooms.
Second.
All right. I'm just following procedure. You guys got any other discussion?
so do we need to ask for an eggshell or,
Semi-gloss?
yes,
Yeah, we can certainly, let them know what the board's preference is.
okay.
Do we all agree on semi-gloss?
Yeah.
Perfect. Any other discussion?
All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. Painting project for Huckleberry Park curbs.
that's gonna be me again.
Okay.
So we also get a lot of reports and phone calls regarding anytime people are utilizing the parking lots on both sides of Huckleberry. They'll also, when it's a very busy time, instead of using the spaces, they'll park along the medians right behind the parking spots, which then it becomes a hazard. People aren't always able to pull out their vehicles. So we received a proposal for painting both parking lots for $1,237.50.
What's the procedure if people park in the no parking zone after?
I would assume we would, contact the city for towing.
The city can tow without the 48-hour notice?
If it's a red, yeah, it's considered an emergency.
Okay, that would be a safety hazard then for the.
Right.
I'll make a motion to approve the painting project for Huckleberry Park curbs.
Second.
I want to point out this one, the cost saving things that they did on Huckleberry was limit the parking. It was a bigger parking space at one time and then save money to the rest of this point. Just want to put that in.
Yeah.
I think we had a, did you make a second? Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, what? Yeah. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. Review and consider Oxford Commons street sweeping proposals.
Perfect, so we do have, 2 sealed ones, so
I'm gonna give these to Kate.
Hey, real,
I finished my second glass of water.
real quick, can I vote on this?
I will.
Okay.
And just for the record, this is coming out of Oxford Commons budget, not Providence's budget, so for those that may question.
Oxford Commons is one of 2 associations in Providence that are benefiting communities. They don't have their own sub-association. So the Providence Board of Directors acts on their behalf and makes decisions for them.
Katie, when you open those, you can read out the numbers.
Yes, Bailey's sweeper service is $136 a month with an option for 2 sweeps a month for $248. Okay.
Okay. I got my own one.
Okay, and Sweeps LLC is $135 a month for once a month.
How much?
135.
I thought you said 835.
Oh my gosh.
So $1 difference in the sweep service.
Make a motion that we approve sweeps to the street sweeping and Oxford Commons.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? I abstain. I live in Oxford Commons.
You don't have to abstain. It's just like if you were on the board of the sub-association.
I'll abstain.
It's an Oxford.
It passed anyway, right?
It's fine.
Nobody is
I live in Broadview, but I vote on every piece of Broadview.
Motion carries. Okay, review and consider Knickerbocker Park. Review and consider Knickerbocker Park doggy station replacement.
So this is just a basic one. We have a doggy station out there. It's bent. Replacing it would be $620.
How much of that is for the station and how much is the station?
They just break it down. They didn't break that down.
So looking online, and the stations cost somewhere between $230 and $280. So it's still, that seems a little high for labor of 300 something. Do we have it, we just got one bid on that as well?
Yeah, we just went out to Brightview.
I'd like to see a breakdown. I want to see how much they're charging for this profit they're making on the station side that we get rid of that.
Proposed comment?
How bad is it?
It's bent. At that point, I'd say at least.
Is it
we're
still
losing
containing
it.
poop?
It is, but it's kind of like
It's a janky, yeah, it's a janky poop station.
We can wait, we can do that through emails. We do it, I'm sure, once we get it, we do it.
I'm fine with that. I'll make a motion to postpone the decision on the Knickerbocker Park doggy station.
This sort of question.
Hold on, second?
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Tim.
I'm gonna be asking this sort of question on all these things because when it comes up like this, I want to anticipate it and just get breakdowns of labor and costs and things.
So we're postponing the vote on this, we see the breakdown and do it via email.
Correct. Yeah. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Sure. Now that has to be unanimous. We do that via email, right? Correct. Yeah. Hopefully we can agree on that. Review and consider Hometown Hero banner program.
If I make a motion, first that we eliminate the hometown hero program.
Second.
So the hometown hero, banners here along Elkhorn, Street, even more. To me, it's always been a sense of neighborhood pride. We have the military, we have law enforcement, other first responders here in the community, and gosh, it's just to see everybody's faces up there. Once the banners come down, that individual gets to keep their banner for all times. Sometimes you see retired people, veterans from years ago up there and such. It's just a little expensive added more to the community. But there's a cost involved, $2,000 for the 20 or so banners that go up there that they can hang. So I understand the understanding of the cost of it, but to do away with it altogether, if there's some way to offset the cost like we do for the social lifestyle events, then I'll be okay with that.
I've actually talked to quite a few veterans who actually don't like the concept of the program.
So they don't go up there.
I can tell you, as having served 23 years in the Navy, that not everybody who joins the military is here.
It's true.
Calling it here, using the word hero, this is a pet peeve of mine anyway, using the word hero for everybody just makes the word out of the meaning. So I don't like that. Plus, this is very, very far from a core function of a homeowners association. That's not a homeowners association.
Definitely, I agree with you there. It's
So-
just what makes Providence or Providence or neighborhood pride type of thing.
If we're going to keep it, then my next motion would be to have whoever nominates the person pay for the event.
Or if we had a sponsor.
We could do it at a lower cost.
I mean, I think
I don't think it's something
agent or
we need to-
something,
I don't
I'd be
think
happy to
it's-
have their name splattered across the middle corner.
I don't think it's something we need to waste staff time on doing. So when you add up all these little things that are not core functions of the association, that's why we have 9 employees or 8 employees, whatever we have to run the association. They're all busy doing what you want on a Wednesday. Nothing to do with the association usually, or very little, except for the propaganda for security. All those little things add up to a lot of activity for the staff that have very little to do with core functions of the association. That's one. If we're gonna maintain the program and have whoever nominates the person pay for it, then I think we should have a committee on that. We're underutilizing our committees now. They're basically for show, except for the finance committee. The other committees don't do it. So we bind the DRC. But the lifestyle and the neighborhood advisor really aren't being used for most anything right now. So approving whatever the staff suggests.
I agree with that there. But going back to what you said about the core function of the HOA, there's no doubt. Core function is to protect home values.
That's not the core function, sorry.
What's the core function?
Maintain the common elements and enforce the covenants.
Okay, so then you go to the stereotypical HOA, it's finger pointing, wagging, don't do this, don't do that. Well, I would like to think that most people hate that.
They don't.
Okay, Providence is not that. It's never been. I hope it never does become. That's all their function is to say, don't do this, don't do that. They want to be. It's always been something more than that. Where you feel the neighborhood.
But it has always exceeded its authority and its purpose.
I don't disagree with you there, but I'm saying that is a reason why people love Providence.
I don't even believe that.
That's not why I'm moving through one.
No, nobody moves here because there's hometown hero banners on Elkhorn.
No, it's just something added.
It's an added useless function. It makes some people happy. Some people nominate themselves to be on the banners even though they don't fit the criteria.
If we had full reserves, if we had no long funds, but since we do.
The motion is to eliminate the hometown.
Yes.
When did we last?
We just did it recently.
Every 6 months, it's supposed to be.
Every 6 months?
2 times a year, yes.
It's budgeted $95 a banner for 30 banners a year. But I don't think they, according to the money, according to this, they didn't spend that as much. Quite as much.
How many banners were you just saying?
I believe we did 15.
It's average about 15 to 20 banners.
Yeah, it's budgeted for 15 each 6 months.
What do you think?
you're gonna put seasonal banners up in their place, you're not gonna leave up the banner slots. It's gonna look like the bigger, the last day.
Take the mounts down.
So then we would do it in September? No, I know, no.
Oh, the next time.
Normally that'd be planned in
Yes.
September. I'm kind of on the fence. I mean, it's something I wouldn't mind discussing at a later date.
Instead of doing away with the program, if we did the program at zero cost association, whether that's the homeowner pays for it or sponsors pay for it, but no cost association.
You think people are gonna do that?
I think it's more likely that you could get somebody spend $2,000, a sponsor, to pay for it, to put, a little corner of it to have their logo on there, rather than a homeowner paying $100 to put their banner up.
I'm okay with it, if it didn't cost anything to the association, I'd be on board with it.
You want to make that motion, I'll withdraw mine.
We have a.
I'll withdraw my motion then and let Walt move that.
I make a motion that we continue the hometown hero banner at no cost to the association. It's paid for either by homeowners or outside sponsorship.
I said that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Review and consider motion carries, review and consider time capsule of Knickerbocker Park.
So this is just a time capsule that went in back in 2010. It was due to be dug up in 2020, but of course with the pandemic, none of that happened. So I'm just putting this on there to let you guys know and making the suggestion that you wait till December of 2021 to make it a full 11 years.
Isn't 11 years really short for that?
Exactly. Thank you. When they put it in the ground, they said, we're gonna open it in 10 years. Like, 10 years is nothing.
I got stuff from 11 years ago in my closet.
I make a motion to postpone it for
20 years.
20 years.
20 years.
Actually, an important consideration here is our operating agreement on Knickerbocker Park ends this coming January. So if
Okay,
we
so I
don't request continuation of the operating agreement, or if the city denies our request to continue the operating agreement, we lose control of the time capsule.
Okay, so should I amend my motion to say until January 2011? No,
2021.
They recommend December.
20.
Because of it.
okay, that's fine.
What's in the time capsule?
Not sure.
Just like a newspaper and flyer about how many homes we had.
What's the newspaper?
Way back in 2000.
Did you made a motion? Somebody make a motion?
Yeah, I made a motion to
December,
20.
that was seconded.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye, or nay,
Any abstain?
and nay only because I'd rather it be 2030.
Well, we can plan, we can do another one.
We may not have control of the park.
Motion carries. Review and consider welcome package provided by printer order.
So this one's mine. We are paying for welcome packets for when property is closed escrow. So basically, I go to sell my house, Providence is paying for the welcome packet. I was told, because one of my arguments is that this should be part of the transfer fees that is paid to, as part of the management charges transfer fees when a property closes escrow. As part of that, any documentation should be provided as part of that transfer fee. That's why management companies charge that transfer fees. So I was very surprised to learn that Providence is paying for the printing of welcome packets. And I was told that CCMC does do like
Just a one pager
just a one-page.
with all of the, this is how much your assessments are.
Right, and that the board at one point, I don't know when, decided that that wasn't enough, so they wanted to do more. And so that's when Providence started paying for this stuff. But the thing is that Providence should not be paying for this, because if I go to sell my property, it's my decision to sell my property. There are things that I'm supposed to provide to the buyer. Providence is not responsible for that information. I am. So Providence should not be paying to provide this information to the buyer. The seller should, or it should be provided with the welcome letter that the CCMC does through the transfer fee, because CCMC is getting paid for that transaction. Providence is not getting paid. We're losing money on this stuff.
So this is not the resale packet.
No,
No.
This is a little
This
welcome
is
flyer
the-
that says, hey,
yes.
how beautiful our community is, welcome to it, type of thing.
it's a bunch of fluff.
Yes, that letter is actually in the HOA packet. When I list a house and it gets sent to the buyer,
Right,
there's a welcome packet in that email. It's there,
right.
It comes with the disclosure packet?
yes.
So it's,
We're sending something on top of that?
yes,
Oh, that doesn't make any sense.
yes. Which is why I decided, we need to discuss this because we should be paying for it.
But then down in the email, it says that the past year was basically free. We didn't pay anything for it.
But they don't really know why.
But nobody could explain to me why, and nobody could explain to me how much it costs per welcome packet. Nobody could even tell me how many welcome packets were sent last year,
It's $4.28 per packet.
which again is not a lot of money, but again, at the same time.
Yeah,
you
it's
should not
not
be
necessary.
paying- You should not be paying for that.
What information is in there in addition to, like, where to pay your assessment, small one?
The SIDS and lids information, turning on
I can't
utilities.
understand
I
it.
can't hear you.
SIDS and lids information, how to pay your utilities, because a lot of times people do contact us with, oh, my assessment pays for my SIDS and lids. No, they don't. They're two separate entities. A lot of times people don't understand that, so they do contact us for that information, as well as how do I contact Nevada Power? How do I contact for public service? And so all of that information is inside of that welcome package.
That's already in there?
They already get it
But
in the code.
that's all of that information is already in the resale package, and also it's not the association's responsibility to tell you what utilities you
Yeah.
have.
So I never got a welcome packet, so.
Yeah.
So. All right, I move that we eliminate that expenditure for welcome packet.
That's okay.
Well, anything else? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Nay. Any abstain? Motion carries.
Skip over surplus.
We already did surplus funds, so review and consider updated park rules.
So this was placed in there to update the park rules that are currently existing, just to remove the rule regarding golfing and horseshoes, since when the new Huckleberry Park Phase 2 was built, it included both of those amenities. So we just wanted to make sure that we removed the verbiage out of the.
There's two sets of rules in the packages. Are they for the different parks then? They're not labeled.
No, one is how it is now, one is how it.
Yeah, one's just with the verbiage, one's
Are we
without.
allowing golfing and horseshoes at Knickerbocker? We're gonna use the same set of rules. I don't really care.
I think it's just a large.
Very large, right? There's a large area of grass for some to drop balls. Yes, I'm with you. That's why I think the rule is in there.
So, you think this is just for Huckleberry Park, is that correct?
Is it?
Are these
That's my
rules
question.
specific to that though? This one, yeah, okay.
And we're not taking out golfing, we're just taking out horseshoes. No
Take it out
horseshoes.
golfing. There's a putting green at Huckleberry too.
So other than the word golfing, it should be the word putting.
Also, this isn't labeled, this isn't labeled for park. It should have,
Okay, one more time.
it should have the name of the park on top,
Yeah.
and it doesn't.
I think when it's supposed to add Huckleberry Park, but it's for that part.
Yeah, but you got the specific homeowners, you got to put the name of the shop.
If we're approving it, I want to approve it for park too.
Yeah,
If we use the same set of rules, fine, I don't care. Nobody needs it to be,
that's true too, but,
but this way I can enforce it.
right.
I'll make a motion to approve these changes to the rules for Huckleberry Park.
Second.
Can we at least put the name of the park on top of it?
Yeah, I've already made a note to do it.
Okay. Also, reviewing this and the, we'll vote now.
All in favor?
Also, since we're changing the thing that Huckleberry Park, can the park be open longer than 8 AM to 10 AM?
That's not a good
That's the
one.
city of Las Vegas.
8 AM to 10 AM? That's only 2 hours.
It should say first.
Yeah, okay, you gotta fix that, yeah. That's a good catch. This This is for Huckleberry Park, right?
Correct.
Right.
Actually, I like that, cut down on maintenance.
Anything else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any opposed, say nay. Any abstain. Motion carries. Unfinished business.
Next on the agenda, we have the meeting minutes from the January meeting for the board to consider.
I have a bunch of corrections that I should spit after this, so it's technically going through them all now.
No problem.
So I make a motion to postpone or? till next meeting?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We can do this by email.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. Review and consider October, November, December 2020 unaudited financials.
I make a motion not to approve them.
Why?
The income statements are correct.
Oh.
December's already been sent to the auditor. We actually never approved December, correct?
You guys approved December, and then when I brought it back as the, to our last meeting as the updated December, because you and Felicia had gone through some things that got changed, then those were also recommended for approval, but
You're talking about the finance committee.
that's correct, yes.
Were you talking about the finance committee or the board of directors?
No, she's talking,
No, I'm talking about the board. I don't believe we approved them, right?
no, the board hasn't.
Yeah, no. So
The finance committee recommended approval.
they did. I'm actually not allowed to vote on that anymore, so,
All right.
yeah.
What's your specific objection?
The income statements for the reserves. Are correct.
What's the error?
They have,
There's a $32 error showing as an actual, but it's non-budgeted, it shows 0, so she wants that line item to be moved.
there's things that are listed, there's things that are listed on the income statement that shouldn't be listed on the
I second Katie's motion.
Second the motion, not.
Correct.
Neil, Paul?
No discussion.
Huh?
Had no discussion.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
statement.
Any opposed, say nay. Nay, any abstain. Review and consider community management proposals.
So the board has been provided in the past with comparison spreadsheets and bids, and this is just brought back because a decision wasn't completed in the last.
Okay. I will motion to retain CCMC as the community management team. Second. Go ahead.
With the last meeting, there was some discussion with some other companies. Some got brought forward to approve of some companies, there was Tidal, and then other companies weren't considered. Since then, the CCMC is, we lit a fire under them. They've been coming to us with different things, reminding us such that staffing is totally up to board discretion, that we can change it as we did today. They lowered their fees dramatically, almost half of the board. They're working with things that the finance committee brought forward as far as paying for different things. And so they're at least giving us a show of faith that they're working towards our benefit.
There are two things that I would like to be, we received the updated proposal today. There are two things I would like to be added. Well, actually, one of them I would like to be taken out, the paragraph where the board will have a representative that management goes to, and that person's responsible for having all the, procedural and all that stuff. I think that needs to be taken out because it's up to the board to make decisions, not one person. I don't like that in management contracts because it's not one person's decision. It's we as a board make the decisions. The second thing one thing I would like to add is I would like to add, this particular contract did have a limit as to what management can spend in non-emergency situations, which the previous one did not have. But it does not have a limit for emergency situations. We still need a limit that the management company can spend for emergencies. So say if it's an emergency and it's less than $1,500 and you can fix it, if it's more than $1,500, you still have to contact us to tell us that this is going on.
Katie, is
Yes.
that the number that you would use, or did you just pull out?
I just pulled that, as I was talking, I just pulled that number out.
Okay.
We can discuss that. It's just so that what ends up happening is that if it's, things can be deemed an emergency that are not necessarily an emergency, but then it also everything can fall in, well, this needs to be replaced. Instead of going to bid it out or asking the board's opinion, we just do it. And then that's how us board members, we see all this stuff that's going on that we don't know about. So
I think those are reasonable requests.
There are other things.
Josh, I think
I was
Josh-
thinking that, to the motion, to retain CC, can go forward, but as far as signing contract, we need to review that a little bit more and get those things.
Yeah, only conditions that I would like changed with the new one.
I did my reason for opposing CC the last meeting. I'm going to go those meetings. They still stand.
Anything else?
I like what, there's some things that need to work on contract.
Okay, let's vote on those separately. So all in favor of retaining CCC, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Any abstaining?
I abstain.
Motion carries. I will make a motion, to add to the CCC contract,
Take out that one paragraph.
I'm sorry, take
Yeah.
one paragraph out and
Yeah.
add a dollar amount for emergency use funds.
Yep,
What about
What is that for that? In other words, he wants to go on each side.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. Motion to, remove that paragraph from the CCMC contract.
second.
So,
All in favor?
Wait, discussion.
Go ahead.
we cover this when we pick a president of the board, who could be their contact. If the 5 board members, where they are, start acting like raging, they need to know who to listen to.
I know,
And
I've been
and
told
you
that
can-
before.
And you can reorganize the board at any time with a vote.
Sure.
So that contingency, I think, is important.
But Katie's point is, they shouldn't be listening to just one person in case of
We are
the
all,
president can rage out of control as well. He gives
Right.
directions that the rest of us don't agree to. We don't want that either.
we are all
We
officers.
can vote to reorganize at any time.
We are all directors before we are, official titles. We are really all.
That has not been their course of business ever since I've been on. They listen to everybody.
Yeah.
If we suddenly have a different board with people who are arguing like cats and dogs, someone has to be the deciding voice. That person was determined to be president. If there's 3 people against the president, they can vote to reorganize and pick a new president who the management company will listen to. I think it's important to leave it in there. It hasn't been an issue, but it's a worthwhile contingency.
CCMC guys in the back, what is, your position on this statement? Have any weight, moving it out, does it mean anything? Never used it here, used it in other communities where we have more staff. Things, meetings, that's why it's in there. That staff. But that board members are going to direct the staff, to do things that the board has to approve. They're partially done to do things that they should have been with that. That's exactly right. So it seems that pulling it out, doesn't change anything, because fortunately, we have 5 level-headed people here that are working together, and nobody's trying to push their agenda through or anything like that.
Well, it's one of those things that you refer to when there's a conflict. There's not a conflict, so it's not an issue. If there is a conflict, someone has to be the deciding voice of the board. The board picks the president, the board can reorganize.
To be honest with you, it shouldn't be in there, contracts. It's in there so that it makes it makes it easier for management companies, but it shouldn't be in there, to be honest.
We don't have to agree.
One more time, why should it not be in the game?
Because we all get a vote, we all have a say, it's majority. So if we're arguing over something, one person doesn't have authority to say, we can't all agree, I'm gonna make this decision. It doesn't, that's not correct, that's not the way to do it. Unfortunately, some boards, and you do get boards who cannot make a decision to make their life, and it takes years for them to make a decision. But unfortunately, that's just the way it is. One person can't just decide, we're at a standstill, I'm gonna make this, I'm gonna decide this, and this is the final say. Anything.
I can say, that's not what that's intended for.
Yeah, that's not what it's not.
It's not, but it can be used that way, and the way it's written, if you're gonna use it a different way, then it needs to be rewritten. But the way it's written is we're only gonna take directive from one person, and the board has to, designate one person who we will basically contact, who we will work with in policy. So the way that it's written, I know what it's intended for, but that's not the way it's written, and I honestly do not like it because it's every single one of us has the vote. So it's not just one person that you, and the other thing too is that if he's president, if there's an emergency and you enforce that, you say, Keith, we're contacting you for a decision, it's his responsibility to then notify all of us, later or, at his discretion and then, so you're relying on one person to get with all the board members, come to a decision, and then get back to you. Why not just email all of us at once and then majority rules, because that's what it's supposed to be. We each have a vote.
So why wouldn't we put a stipulation in the contract that says that whoever you guys have elected as quote the president, why don't you put a limit on what that person can do? This guy can approve $500. Anything above $500.
Those all have to be decisions of the board.
Yeah.
So this comes into play, for instance, who will Tasha listen to put agenda items on the meeting agenda? Right now, she listens to everybody, which is working just fine. But if we have rogue board members in the future who are putting ridiculous things on the agenda, should she listen and put them all on the agenda? Or could she say, hey, you need to agree, and I'm gonna hear from the president on the agenda? It's scenarios like that, but I think this is important.
That particular item, though, is already taken care of. The president has already put things on the board, we don't, or on the agenda. So, I do, but I don't have a right to.
Can I pause this for a second? Dad, can you explain this, because he does a better job than this than I do. Can you explain that, please?
There's nothing in the bylaws that gives the president sole authority to put items on the agenda. Any board member should be able to place items on the agenda. It's not the management or let the board member determine whether that's frivolous or whatever. If it comes up on the agenda and the majority of the board doesn't want to discuss it, then they don't discuss it, move on. But to say that only the president can put stuff on the agenda, that's ridiculous.
It's also not.
It's also not spelled out in the bylaws. The bylaws define what the president's duties are. It's not to be the point of contact with the community. It's not to make sole decisions on emergencies or spending issues. It's basically the president's duties is to run the meeting. That's it. You can't place other things on them that are not part of the bylaws.
What's the motion?
The motion is to take that paragraph out of the contract.
Correct. It's just
That paragraph that says that you will designate one person and we will talk to that one person.
Got it. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstain? That motion carries. Katie, what was the other one, remind me?
Emergency funds, we should put a cap on what they can spend for emergency and before they contact us. So.
Is that something we wanna postpone until we decide what that number is, or do we just wanna agree that there's a cap? Cause I don't have any idea what that number should be. I have to do some research.
What is an example of emergency funding expenditure?
Well, case in point, in the future, when you have the massive rainstorm, that microcell storm, that was an $80,000 loss. The immediate cost of the association is $30,000 to be mobilized and get acting on that. So that's really what the emergency funds are, that provision is supposed to be utilized for, is if there's a significant emergency action that is needed, so that we are able as management to start the process, fill you in, and then bring you up to speed so that you're able to make decisions moving forward.
Were we emailing about that?
That was part of it, that was 2017.
Okay, I was gonna say, I didn't put email on that.
You have a 13-foot wall. Street on the other side of the wall. You have a 13-foot wall of water that's coming down Elkhorn, moving east. at that point because of the Microsoft thing. That's what that's for. It's not for the $500 emergency. It's for the catastrophic, like, we need to start moving immediately and get going. We don't have time to get unanimous consent from the board to expend those funds.
So then maybe we need a different definition of emergency, because I've seen some things lately, like we just spent money to maintain the vehicle that was not an emergency, which we probably could have, discussed or looked at things, but it was done without our knowledge, and I just looked at the invoices for it after the fact.
Yeah, I agree, there should be a separation there.
Yeah, because the contract right now doesn't say that, it doesn't give them an amount to, it just says that we will.
Was it emergency report or was it just regular meetings?
Speaking of emergencies, is that pile gonna hit Katie?
No, it's been like that for a while. I'm
Okay.
good. I won't
All
say.
right. I just don't know.
I got health
I was like, I
insurance.
hope it doesn't fall.
The association
Okay.
insurance.
Yeah, I got health insurance, we're good. As long as I don't have
That's
to go to
not
work
very-
tomorrow.
It's
I'm good.
paper.
Katie, we need to better define that, I agree. In
Yeah.
every circumstance, we gotta move on something like that. But, vehicle repair,
Right, something like that is definitely obviously an emergency, but something like vehicle maintenance is not.
yeah.
Even if that vehicle were to shut down completely, that's still not an absolute
Do we
emergency, that's
have
something the
a
board needs
motion
to
to
be,
put forward now?
on.
I don't think we've made a motion. I
I
wouldn't.
won't approve the contract until this detail is worked out.
That'd be fine. I second. Did you make one? Yeah, I second.
Well, if we do that, then the savings that we would get can you amend your motion to say, approve it with the condition that we figure the paragraph out?
Certainly, but at their last meeting, when CMC had one lower price, of course, they need to come down from that price. They said that they would retro it back to when we had our first meeting in January.
Okay.
That was from the $1.60 to the $1.20 an hour, now it's at $1 an hour. I don't know if that was okay. Yes.
Is that okay?
Plain says yes.
Okay, that's, yeah.
Okay.
Good. So we need to vote on postponing it for that?
Postponing
The contract is approved, but we're postponing those items, as for the paragraph.
the emergency.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Just holding up the emergency paragraph.
Correct.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion passes. Courtesy patrol proposals.
So you guys were provided with the comparisons for all of the bids, so this is just a follow-up, so that the board can make a decision should they choose to.
I move that we terminate the Securitas contract and not engage in a new security contract.
I second.
So since our last meeting, Securitas has come back to us with the compromise, the cost that they used for it, down to $546,000. I see here. It's almost 15 months ago that they gave to us with some other cost savings. They adopted those, then adopted some more. And here's now better than 1/3 cost saving on there. As we heard from so many people here and so many emails, there's a lot of people with varying wishes with courtesy control, certainly passionate feelings. Some of the feelings that, in my opinion, the negative aspect of it is because of the cost. And here our vendor working with this is coming with a cost saving idea.
So
So
first,
it's kind of like a compromise.
it is a compromise. For courtesy control, there's nothing anywhere that says an association has to provide courtesy control.
And there's no liability absolutely from Casco.
Yeah,
Very clear that we're not obligated to do it. And we don't have security anyway.
There's absolutely nothing that says anything about providing security. I mean, we can't provide security for homeowners.
We specifically disclaim
Everybody
it.
uses the word security.
Well, I'm
Everybody
just
uses the
saying,
word security when they're talking casually about it.
right,
And the trucks they were driving around for a while said security on the back. They have security.
this is a luxury item and it's not something that we are required to provide. If we did not have $1 million shortage in the reserves, okay. If we didn't have a $500,000 loan, okay. But we do have these things, and we cannot continue to keep spending $850,000 or even $500,000 on something that's not absolutely required until we have our financials in order, until we have the reserves up, until we have the loan paid off.
And even then, I still don't think this is taking it out and get most value at all out of it. The only thing anybody can say is there is a deterrent effect. Nobody can quantify that, nobody can demonstrate it. They just believe it.
And also the argument that it raises property values for individual properties. There's nothing that says that an HOA is responsible for property values, so in raising our individual property values. It is a side effect as to what happens if we take care of our association, if we maintain the common elements, if we make sure everything, if we're financially stable. Those are the things that, as a side effect, our property values raise.
The security demonstrably does not raise property values because there are other comparable properties around here that don't have security, but the prices are as high or higher per square foot.
But even still, I found nothing that says anything anywhere. There's, I mean, the laws are, it doesn't say anything about property values here, or that the HOA is responsible for property value or keeping your property value high.
That doesn't say anything in the governing documents.
It doesn't. I emailed Tasha saying, hey, have you found anything about property values anywhere? The articles of incorporation that you sent me said nothing about
Correct.
anything to do with that. It's a luxury item that people have come to consider as a staple. It's not. It is we can do it if we have the money and if we're stable. If we don't have the money and we're not stable, we can't do it. I'm sorry. We have a fiduciary duty to we had to get a loan and we have to bargain and for their irrigation repairs. And yet we have security, which we are not required to have, but the things that we're required to maintain, we're scrambling for the money to pay for it. That's not okay. And if you want to keep your property values high, you need to have higher than a 46% reserve, because guess what? When new buyers want to buy into the community, if they see that you have a $4 million budget and you're spending everything and you have 46% reserves, they're not gonna want to buy the community. Because you know what's gonna happen? They're gonna know that, hey, eventually the assessments are gonna have to go up to maintain us doing all of this stuff, and our reserves are 46%. So you're talking
This
about,
conversation could be moved.
Well, I was gonna ask, the motion on the table is to eliminate security altogether.
right,
So, is security something you want?
Courtesy patrol.
I'd really like security, but we're not gonna get it in security about it.
Myself, courtesy patrol is, as they said, it's a bonus, it's a luxury item. But I don't speak for me sitting over here, I speak for the residents. And as we've all seen from the emails that would come in, there's people on both sides of the fence. And a lot of the people said they don't want courtesy patrol only because of the finances. They want it, but
The money is, they have the option of doing it later, once the finances are straightened out, if there's actually a detrimental effect of not having it. We can fire out.
So going with this compromise amount that they gave to us, it's $350,000 savings, just $30,000 a month. And you drop that $30,000 into reserve real quick, as Neil alluded to earlier, then it'll build the reserve fund pretty quick.
You build it up faster if you drop 500,000.
No doubt, that's why it's called compromise.
I'm not gonna be in favor probably unless I see a demonstrable negative effect from not having it. I'm not gonna be in favor of having it because I don't think they provide the value. I think it should.
Who's the compromise? Who's the compromise for? Compromise for the company or is the compromise for us? Because the compromise for the company, that's not doing us.
Why don't we vote?
Yeah, I would like to vote on Phil's motion to essentially eliminate courtesy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Nay. Any abstaining? Motion carries. So we'll retain some sort of courtesy.
I would like to make a motion to approve Securitas revised contract.
I'm sorry, motion failed. Motion fails, I just. Go ahead.
Make make a motion to adopt courtesy patrol's revised, schedule and contract that they have as outlined to the board.
What is the revised schedule?
Sent to us previously via email from Julie.
Is this the one that has to do with having the cameras in the park? Because that's a whole other issue.
Which, I don't remember this email. How long ago?
Well, was that your motion?
Yes.
Can I get a second?
I didn't hear his motion. Can you repeat it?
To adopt Securitas amended contract that they sent to us earlier via Jody.
Is this before the last meeting?
It's in between the meetings. As I said, that's where we have a vendor that we worked with for many years. They see that we're making considerations, cost savings, things. It's one of the
Can I get a second?
things in our mind. So they came to us with like, hey, here's a proposal for you to, let's save some money and work together. To your end, sir, it's talking about scheduling. They have details of the reports and stuff, managing staffing, taking Michael out of the office, who is the supervisor, even more than he already is. Doing different things like that, so it.
What do you think of the other proposals?
What are the proposals?
The other company.
The other bids, yeah.
I'm missing something that, okay, as board members, we have to make very hard decisions. A lot of them are gonna be unpopular. We might not get reelected because of it, but we can't make a decision based off of that. We have to do what's best for the community. And spending money on something that's a luxury is not what's in the best interest of the community. And it's a very unpopular idea. It's not liked by everybody. If that means in 2 years, I don't get, or in a year and a half, I don't get reelected, that is fine, because I'm spending such a lot of time looking into stuff and I'm wearing myself out, but it's because I feel very passionate about this. If we got our reserves back up, fine, we could have security or courtesy patrol. But when you have $1 million shortage in your reserves, it's the popular thing that people, it's not okay to spend this money on.
I hear what you're saying. Courtesy patrol is here until it comes before the board again. The motion was to do away with it, and motion failed.
I know, but now we're talking about, well, I'm just saying that, it's the unpopular thought, but I just have to say it. But looking at all these other courtesy, now we're discussing other companies, the amounts, it's.
Keep in mind what we're talking about, we're speaking on both sides. The best indicator we have of what more people in the community who express an opinion believe is the recall election and the election Katie and I got. We made no secret that we wanted to at least temporarily get rid of security in order to balance budgets, to observe that where they should be. More people voted to get you out of office than ever voted in an election before. That's the most votes in the history of Providence that anybody has gotten.
I never made decisions to get reelected.
But for the, no, what I'm saying is.
You read the emails.
Well, let me finish. You were talking about emails and what the community wants. It's not what you want, it's what the community wants. The best indicator we have of what the community wants is those votes. There's still very small percentages of the thing.
Let's take association talk about it.
For the people that have spoken, it's been very clear, they're willing to get rid of security, at least temporarily.
So, since you brought it up, let's talk about it. Some people voted with the misunderstanding of what was actually going on. There was a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of exaggerations.
Well, you got nothing to back it up, you're pulling that out of your ass.
I can show you flyers that were taped to mailboxes, just have false information on
Mr.
it.
President, you need to take your board back control of your board, this is not an agenda item.
So the point is that that's my motion, we seconded, we can have further discussion about it. Well, it's already.
Guys, we're talking about security minutes.
No, courtesy patrol.
Courtesy patrol.
I'm talking
So-
about continuing it, it's already being continued, but let's save some money if we're gonna continue.
What I wanted.
We can save more money too, like the one gentleman, I guess he's gone now, suggested, security of the parks is probably the most important thing. Because we're actually, the operating agreement in Huckleberry actually says we have to have our security enforced rules of the park. So if we're gonna, I don't think the roving patrols are not necessary, they don't do anything.
Well,
If we're gonna do this, it'd be a good idea to cut, just keep the park security. Maybe have a truck on call so they can do the actual legitimate call to come in, because I'm gonna need your help with that.
So do we need to rewrite the whole RFP?
RFP,
Katie.
RFP, thank you
So
for that.
Go ahead, Walt.
my motion still stands, but if we agree to continue, and I will say it's $30,000 for each of the next 2 months or next meeting, it will still stay with May, if not sooner, is what I'm saying. But in the meantime, we can look further at the staffing and rearrange it, as you said, more towards the parks and such.
I think it is, I think we need to move on from Securitas.
Have you compared to Mark's quote, Securitas quote for apples to apples, plan design, for lack of a better term?
Yes, I am. I am, of all the bids that we got, the one that looks most attractive to me is ours.
I will say, talking to them, I liked the amount of building. No, it was the three where it was, basically it was the more local company, the small company,
You can.
they didn't have all the fancy stuff,
They were the last ones.
Doesn't matter.
yeah, they were the last ones that she added to the agenda, or that day that we had met with everybody, so.
Did you make a motion for?
Yes, well, my motion.
Second.
Okay,
What's
so
the motion?
To go with Securitas.
How many hours, was that?
That's right, we got sidetracked because you were looking up to see what was said, right, Jody?
Yeah, for when I emailed it. I
Yeah.
emailed it, February
Do you
22nd.
have it up, Joe?
I'm pulling it up right now. So, consideration one is going to 336 hours a week. And then eliminating a bicycle, eliminating one of the laptops, and then an account manager. There would be no change, but they were in the vehicle 5 days a week. And so that is an estimated cost savings, taking you to $267,364. And that's for consideration one. And then they sent over consideration two. And Katie, I think that's the one that you were mentioning because they were talking about
The cameras.
the cameras.
You said this on February 22nd.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All I see in that email is. Wait a minute. Okay.
And so with that one, for consideration two, patrol one would go down to, down 24 hours. Patrol two would go down 56 hours, and the park patrol would go down 112 hours per week. And then the account manager would be changed to site supervisor hourly. They'd eliminate the bicycle, they'd eliminate one laptop, and they would eliminate smartphones, and that's an estimated cost savings of $311,992.
Does the contract have a 30-day out?
I have to double check, I think it was 60, but I don't want to.
What about our current contract?
60.
Current is 90.
It's 90?
Yes. You're looking at approximately $210,000 to finish out the contract. I mean, the current.
So, this one you said it has cameras, correct?
Yes, so consideration,
So the problem with cameras is it's gonna, you can't really, you can get all the footage you can get about somebody committing crime, but you can't really do anything with that footage. So I personally like to not have cameras because I think it's a waste of money. So having cameras instead of, that's not really, there's no really benefit to having cameras over something else.
You got a film that no one looks at, compared to report for them and read.
Right. Yeah, that too. A lot of times you're caught in that. And you can't verify who the person is anyway.
What motion's out there?
So accept the revised.
Securitas contract.
I'm ready to vote.
I thought that was in part of your treasurer's report or in your maps, just so that revised or.
It is one of the management suggestions that we have, that we cut the security, to,
Swing and grade, that you eliminate day shift.
yes, thank you. So it would, lower the amount of security by 276,000. So that was one of the management suggestions.
276.
That would be the savings, would be 276,000, so
I'm
we'll
with
make
you.
it 574,000. Instead of 850.
You said 574.
Right, so instead of 850, it would be 524. And that was based off of this revised contract, Larry?
That was based off the current contract, it's not based off of the revised one that they sent out.
Okay, so is there a proposal from Securitas to do that?
There's not, so that was us basing your current contract with Securitas
Okay.
and eliminating the day shift. So eliminating all the equipment and the officer hours for day shift.
Okay.
And we're leaving the remaining hours for swing and grade. That was our analysis.
Okay.
We did not include the bidders.
Did that include then lowering maintenance and fuel costs for the truck?
Yes, that was us eliminating those costs based upon the information provided by these standards, your regional county.
I mean, as long as you're paying that much, you get more of the marksman deal, or you're not. That day shift.
So which one are you talking about? You're talking about
The motion on the table.
504 hours?
Go ahead, Kate, I'm sorry.
You're talking about marksman 504 hours?
Yeah, let me get,
That's the closest to what.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about, yeah.
So where it says all vehicle and phone details included in both options total of 42,000 annually, is that something that we're paying or is that something that they're providing?
That's in the cost.
Okay,
Yeah, I had the same question.
so that's not an additional cost?
No, and if you look at, mine's turned sideways for some reason.
Minus two.
Yeah, but if you look at like, one of them, it's not. The first global one.
Oh, here you go. You're right, okay, that's.
But that 47,000 is in that cost. 42,000, pardon me.
So you said that's not additional, that's part of,
Correct.
okay. We would still have to pay $770 weekly for gas.
I will need Jody to answer that one.
Yes.
Yes, there you go.
And what about the electric bike, $45 weekly inclusive of purchase maintenance?
That's what we're paying for security.
Maybe in all honesty, if that's something you guys are interested in, I would approach them, tell them to include it.
Okay.
Do we want to go ahead and vote on the Securitas proposal?
With the lesser amount, which is even lesser than Marksman's.
Yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Nay. Any abstain? Motion fails. I will make a motion to, for our courtesy patrol services to be provided by Marksman, provided that that $45 is part of the bid. Yes, Katie? Is that what we were talking about? $45 for the electric bike?
I definitely wouldn't want to pay it. I would like to know if it's included or if that's extra that we would have to pay. Because if it's extra, I don't agree with that at all. It's
For the homeowners in attendance, this marketing contract is this for $597,000.
And just to be specific, the 504 hours, what does that consist of? Is that the, is that the, oh, is that just certain shifts or?
I believe, so I'm pulling up the,
That was for the 24/7 coverage. That's the original.
Yeah, it's for 7 days a week, 3 officers. Doing the math, 504 divided by
Okay, so
7,
basically,
72 hours.
it's not, it's 504 is without the site supervisor.
What'd you say?
The 504 is without a site supervisor.
yes, one of the proposals is with a site supervisor and one is without.
Okay.
So that site supervisor is $47,000? Difference, am I reading that right?
I'd like to make, do we already have a motion on the table?
There's a motion, but it hasn't been seconded.
Second.
Thank you.
Can we amend it?
Yeah.
Can we ask for a 30-day out instead of a 90-day out
From Marksman or from security?
from Marksman? Is that the one that you?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Amend your motion to include the 90-day out, or the
Yes.
30-day out.
The 30-day out,
Yeah,
90
okay.
days.
No, I have a problem with that. Anything else you want to say?
Me, no.
Well. Anyway, all right. All in favor?
What's the motion?
The motion is the Marksman contract with a 30-day out and to include the electric bike
At 504 hours, correct?
at 504 hours, correct. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Any abstain? Motion passes.
I don't know how I feel about it, so I'd say you know,
Did you vote? It's like, it doesn't, you got 2 yes votes, you can't pass it.
I thought I heard a yes.
Katie walked in the vote.
Went to vote so quick.
Slow down. We can talk some more.
So presently budgeted, courtesy patrol is budgeted $850,000. This one with Marksman goes down to $597,000. It is a savings of $250,000 budget.
it's a good compromise. I just can't bring myself to vote for it.
And that savings will go to the reserves. We already voted on that.
We voted on it.
Wait.
I think that's our direction, yes.
I'm sorry, Paul?
It was saying that the cost savings go towards reserve. While we haven't actually voted on that, that is some of our feeling that it will do so. I don't know if that means maybe extra reserve payments or then the year to take that surplus problem because reserves. It's money in the bank.
Sure. Should we vote again? You vote again? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
No.
Any abstaining? Okay, this time the motion does carry. Next. Checks.
Can I want to be informed for what just happened? This thing just passed, failed, or what happened?
It
This
passed.
vote was to switch from Securitas to Marksman,
Okay,
and that passed.
it passed.
So,
Again, saving $250,000 off the budget amount for courtesy.
Thank you.
Review and consider check signing resolution.
We're not saving, let's be clear, we're not saving anything.
Not as much as we could.
Right, like, we're not saving because we're in debt So we're not saving by bringing this on, so please don't present it that way, Walt. We're not saving anything.
So we were budgeted 850,000, now it's gonna go to 600,000. That's
But
costing.
that.
That's not okay, because I pay a quarterly fee, sir, it's not okay. So don't tell me what's okay.
Review and consider check signing resolution. Did we end up flipping these?
Well, so you guys had approved the check signing resolution minus the verbiage about the credit cards. But then after pulling some information and realizing that the procurement policy for the association doesn't really address the credit cards. And the only other thing that we have on file for credit card use is our credit card agreements that each person signs when they're issued a card. So depending on if you guys want to allow management, the on-site staff to keep the 2 credit cards that we do currently have, then my recommendation would be to update the check signing policy to re-include that verbiage for the credit cards so that we can cut that electronically as well.
Make a motion to approve pausing of the implementation of the newly adopted resolution until the board makes a decision about credit card use.
Second. All in favor?
Hold on, then the next item.
Well,
The check signing policy?
Oh, that's check signing, but it is credit card use also.
Check signing resolution, excuse me.
What, we're on the check signing resolution.
We are on the check signing resolution, so Walt, the motion you made was
And you
actually
want to pause it, this is your, you want to pause the resolution we already passed.
correct until until the board determines for the next item, which is the procurement policy, whether you guys want to add verbiage about the credit cards or, so the misconception, I think, in the last meeting was that removing that credit card verbiage from the resolution would take away the use of the credit cards
No,
on the site, but that's not what it
That
does.
was not understood, we understood that in the past.
Perfect.
What's your motion, Walt?
I rescind my motion because it's the next item.
shoot.
Resolves what this is to be.
So should we skip down to?
Yeah, you guys can definitely make the motion to take them out of order. I should have put them
Yeah.
different, that's all.
Okay.
Motion to go out of order, go to item F.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
When I tried to pull this up last night, there was nothing there, so I didn't even take a second to look at
Do you have something now?
It's out of order too. Also, just looking at Tasha, can you explain this, at least we have the resolution, that's what you're proposing.
Right, so the procurement policy, because you guys don't have a policy for the credit card, this would be where I would suggest you guys add that verbiage if
Okay,
you
so
wanted
this
to.
is the current procurement policy,
That's right.
and then this other thing that's interspersed is
And then,
credit card use agreement.
yes, the credit card use agreement is what the staff fills out and signs
That's
upon
something they already
issuance.
do,
What's that?
they already sign that.
Yes.
There's a sentence in there that needs to be right.
What's the sentence?
On paragraph 4. Because I understand that if you vote, I remain responsible for any misuse. It's just grammatical or syntactical thing.
So on the agreement, the credit card agreement?
Yes. The way it literally reads is that the person is signing it has been revoked. Sorry to be picky, I was an English major.
Okay, so under emergency procurements,
I saw that too.
an emergency procurement of less than 7,500 is required if the community manager and board president are not available to designate an assistant manager to act as the authorizing party. And the board president shall be notified on the next business day. And then emergencies of life, health, or safety, the community manager or designated assistant may contract up to 15 $15,000, stop the damage and maintain a safe environment.
We could take out that first paragraph. So it's not, it doesn't involve life, health, or safety. I don't know what emergency would need to respond to that, but it doesn't involve life.
Well, that kind of goes back to our earlier conversation.
Or in the property.
Katie.
Right.
What's the emergency that's contemplated in the first section?
Make a motion to postpone, for the next meeting.
Tasha, do you have a proposal for what to add to this? Regarding credit cards?
No, I don't have a proposal yet.
Okay, so we need to postpone this to, so we can consider that too. Yeah, second, Deal's motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries.
That's focus, right?
Move past focus.
Postpone item E until the other one is strong.
Yeah.
Well, the motion was for E and F, I thought.
Yes.
Yeah, that was already encompassed in his motion.
Postpone. Oh, yeah.
Review and consider Oxford Commons parking policy.
Before we start that, I have a thing I brought up to Tasha earlier that I just heard to me today is what authority do we have to write rules for just this portion of the association? Our authority is to write rules for the whole association that have to be enforced uniformly across the entire association.
So, yeah, you
So
brought that question up.
If we tell someone in Oxford Commons that they can't park in a certain way, and we enforce that, they can say, well, if we're out of view, you can do that. They're not enforcing it there, and they'd be absolutely right. So I move that we postpone this until someone can show us what authority we have to enact this.
I'll say.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? That is, when we get that straightened out, we can do that via email, right?
If
As
we're
long as
all-
it's
And
unanimous.
as long as we're unanimous, and I'm just asking you guys, because, boy,
I was gonna bring this up afterwards, but can we have a procedural thing explained real fast? 'Cause, the whole tabling, or board voting outside the meeting has to be unanimous. Can you,
It's always.
If you,
If it's not, it doesn't pass.
if you try to schedule a meeting that's not been scheduled, has to be, like, for action without a meeting, it has to be unanimous to do that action.
well, I know, but then once you are voting on it outside, like. in-
When you vote on it, you continue an item that you haven't made a decision on yet, you want to make it before the next meeting. What you're supposed to do is put it in the minutes that the board's gonna be at a certain time. It's not really clear that, the way the statute's written, that the email covers that. But the intent is that if you continue something, let's say that you continue to next Tuesday night, let's just say. That gives the homeowners here the ability to come back and see what the decision is, in the discussion then. If you do it by email, you're cutting out these homeowners that have showed up to the meeting. And that's the whole idea of the continuing, is so the board can take the action when they have more information, but the homeowners still know when it's gonna be and can be there if they want it.
Well, no, I'm talking about the whole, action outside the meeting, or you said that if you make the decision to agree to something, to vote outside of the meeting on something, you're just continuing it, and therefore it doesn't have
Well,
to.
there's two different things. If you're talking about, like, something comes out where you have to approve a contract or something, that the landscaper, that could be first. It's a very limited scope where you're gonna take action without a meeting because whatever reason you don't want to wait till a meeting. That's allowed in the statute, most bylaws. But continuation is a different item when you have an item already that you discussed in the agenda and you just haven't finished the action on it, then you would continue into a later date and make a decision on that.
But this has come up since the last meeting, and he's not explaining the way we're gonna do that. So when we make a decision to vote on something by email, you had said at one point that it doesn't necessarily have to be unanimous, because if we made the decision unanimously to postpone the decision, if we make it by email, it's still considered, it's not action taken outside the meeting, it's postponement.
It's a
And therefore,
continuation of, it's a continuation of action from the meeting.
Therefore, it doesn't have to be unanimous.
Right.
Okay,
It
that
was not unanimous too.
that was my point, so that if we all agree to make this decision in the meeting, because it has been said before that if we have to, if we vote by email, that it has to be unanimous. So that's the point I was trying to get, if we all vote to, continue this by email.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be unanimous, and we've been told in the past that it had to be, because it's not necessarily action taken outside of the meeting, that was my point.
Well, and Katie, I would prefer that. The only reason I'm bringing it up there, go ahead.
No, I think before the board would move forward with doing that, we should just double check that and make sure that that's fully accurate for.
It's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I just, people up in Oxford Commons need a parking policy, so.
First thing, the other thing with Oxford Commons, because it's not unanimous, it just gets to the next meeting, it'll be on the agenda, and then it would go to a vote of the board, 3-2 or 1, whatever, it will be adopted at that time. So the worst thing could happen is it's just delayed, it's not unanimous.
Scott, the actual action without a meeting is supposed to be only used in emergency situations too.
Basically, yeah, it's something that comes up that, maybe not necessarily even an emergency, but the board doesn't want to wait till the next meeting to act. A lot of times it comes up in landscape issues where
There's
some trees fell over and you wanna do something a little bit different.
Right.
So you take action to approve it, and then you just have a memorandum that you've taken action without a meeting. If it's a true emergency, you can just post it and have the meeting, half an hour later. A continuation, it's not really clear. I haven't really gotten a legal part opinion of whether email is basically an okay action, because you're continuing the meeting itself, so the homeowners are left out if you do an email. They're left out of the discussions that might go back and forth.
But if we vote that way, it doesn't have to be unanimous.
No, any continuation that you do doesn't have to be unanimous, because it's majority rules.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Where,
Reviewing.
Oxford Commons. The other thing too.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you noticed, but all of your needs in Oxford Commons say they're subject to the Oxford Commons Homeowners Association, the Declaration of Association.
We did have a conversation about that.
So, I'm actually working on getting those supplemental documents, as we speak, so we're gonna hope to clear that up.
That was brought to my attention, so.
It's funny you mentioned that bill before the province, I live in a little community, it's 24 homes, and it talked about, in these documents, they got about a homeowner association, but there never was.
Somebody recorded the Declaration for Oxford Commons Homeowners Association, but just, I don't know, I can't figure out what happened after that. I can also I can find the supplemental declaration that brings 1/3 of Oxford Commons into the association, but I haven't been able to find supplementals that bring the other 2/3 in. They gotta be somewhere or else Oxford Commons isn't part of the province.
It might be similar to the apartments over here at on the Circle B. At one time, I was told half of them were part of province and half of them were not. And then a couple years later, they all were.
And so just to Katie and Scott's point, for the bylaws, section 5.5 for Providence do state that unanimous written consent of the board to take action is able to take action in the absence of a meeting.
But if it's a continuation of, that's my question.
That is action without a meeting. If the board, going back to my point, let's say the board wants to do something landscape wise, trees fell down, so instead of just replacing the trees, they want to do some other stuff. So they don't want to wait till the next meeting because it'll be July. So they can vote to take action without a meeting. That vote to take that action requires a majority, all the members. It requires all the boards to agree to take that action without a meeting. That's different than a continuation. A continuation is a continuation of an agenda item from the last meeting. It only requires a majority approval of the, because they're not doing anything new. They're just voting on something that they take or continue.
That's what I was trying to get at. Because I heard this, it came up at the last meeting, and I went back to the office and I was like,
It's two
so,
different things.
yeah, it's two different things. That's what I was trying to get to explain the whole time.
Okay, review and consider lifestyle spending.
So, Keith asked us to be on the agenda just to, open back up that dialogue. I think it's, a moot point. Since we don't have a lifestyle director.
Sure. I think that spending should be on every agenda moving forward, so we can decide what we want to do and what we don't want to
You mean spending, lifestyle spending for the next, until the next meeting?
do. Sure. Katie, I did have a question, on your document related to this. You had mentioned when, pausing or cutting some of these lifestyle events.
Those were just the list that they gave that was emailed to me.
Management.
I didn't have an opinion one way or the other. That was the suggestions that management sent me.
Got
I copied and pasted it verbatim and put it on here.
Well, the reason I was wondering about it is because there's some stuff that's already passed on here, like St. Patrick's. So I didn't know if that was like a 2022
I think it's a
suggestion.
2022 suggestion.
2022,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
This is just basically just an example that this is areas that we could save money on. Should the board-
And those events are the events they suggest?
Yes.
Before the board right now, we have at least $45,000 in change for the Star Springs Spectacular and the Red, White, and Bruce event.
So I mentioned this in the finance committee, the Red, White, and Bruce event, is obviously for people 21 and over. Is that a fair housing pledge situation? Because if you have a social event that, and I don't know, I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's why I think we need to find out.
It could be subject to suit.
Yeah, that's what I had brought that up in during the budget meeting, and kind of, I brought it up and it just didn't go anywhere. But I don't know if we actually can have, if we can hold events like that where we say only, because obviously you have to be 21 in order to attend. I don't know if we can do that. So.
Check into it.
And also at the same time, at this point, I don't think we should do it because COVID, our budget.
Sure.
So.
Is there a motion?
You guys don't have to take action on this either.
Okay. Yeah, no, we don't have to take action on this.
So if there's no motion, then the funds are not released. We continue with our directive for lifestyle events that no association money is spent. They can occur at no cost to the association. Whether it's sponsorships or paid for by the attendees.
But like I said, I'll be focused on the agenda because I think it's important to take care of this discussion. Okay, next board meeting, May 13th, 2021 at 6 p.m. You guys good with that?
You need one sooner? Is that good?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
The agendas are gonna be this long.
The next thing,
Consider
is the
having
president
a
of the
meeting.
board.
Yeah. Okay, present open forum. Yeah.
Sorry. All right, so this is from Todd Schwartz again.
Alicia?
Yes.
Board, if I may we hear from the audience
Sure.
in attendance first? If that's okay with the board, we can take a vote on it watching because they're here, they're now. I think we owe them that respect. Any objections to that?
No, that's cool.
Anybody else would like to speak? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Dorothy Petrie. I'm in Emerson. I spoke with Jody on Friday about the perimeter wall on Farm Road being dug from top to bottom and the irrigation comes on. They did come out and did something there. We've got up Monday morning, 4 o'clock in the morning to go see. It was still bubbling coming up. I have a video of it if you want to see it. It's a pretty good amount of water coming up. And the other thing I noticed while we were there is there are several places where there should be a plant, but there's not, but yet it's being irrigated. So somebody needs to cap them off or shut them off or do something because it's just, you know, a small area that I was walking in, and there had to be at least maybe 6 or 7 bushes that were not there. And I'm sure throughout Providence, there's got to be other bushes that are not there, that are being watered. You want to see the video?
Yeah, if I can get it at the end,
Yeah, I'm getting ready to leave, I'm done.
Where's the wall you were talking about at the beginning?
Well, I'm in Emerson, it's on Farm Road, and if you coming up from Qualified, we're actually the 6th house up, and there's a no parking sign right where.
There's water coming.
Well, it's not wetting the wall anymore. Whatever they did on Friday, I guess, corrected that, but there's still water bubbling up.
But that's from the common area?
Yes, yeah, right on Farm Road.
Anybody else? Come on.
My name? Scott Edwards, I live in, Highgate. I just give a few comments. It would appear to me that a few board members understand the fiduciary duty, and a few board members don't understand what their fiduciary duties, or don't even understand the term fiduciary duty. I want to kind of touch on the board meeting. It's a board of directors meeting. It's a meeting of the board of directors. It's not a meeting that the president says, hey, you guys come meet, we'll only put these items on the agenda that I think go on the agenda. That's not the way it's supposed to be. Every director should have, and does have, the same right to put things on the agenda as any other director. If you look at your bylaws, it doesn't say the president has the sole authority to put items on the agenda. So you really need to rethink that. As far as security, I want to congratulate you guys. You guys voted to reduce the contract, so instead of spending $150K on every time that the security calls Metro, you've got it down to $100,000 per phone call. It's my understanding there were five times last year that Metro was called. At $900,000, that's what, $125,000, $150,000 a phone call. That's a great deal. As this gentleman said, you know, you guys are saving money. It's like when I go to the grocery store and they said I saved $10. I didn't save $10 because I spent $100 to save $10. It's the same concept here. Security is not part of the association responsibility. So, and you've got a loan out that should have never been taken because it wasn't approved by the association or the association homeowners like it's supposed to be. You've got a 46% funded reserve. Those are your fiduciary duties, to fund the reserve, to pay for the irrigation that's not getting changed out, because we have security, so they can call Metro 5 times a year, and homeowners get a warm fuzzy because they see a security truck running around. It's a waste of money. Just like cameras are a waste of money. Let's see. And then there's definitely a disconnect that I've noticed over the years between management and the board. I'll take, for instance, I understand you guys voted to get rid of the Post magazine. We'll have an article in the Post magazine. Nothing against that. But when I call management, I go, hey, what's the process when a board member submits an article for publication? It's not sent to the other board members to review, which it should be. Anything that's put out by the association, the board has a fiduciary duty and a duty to review that. If nothing else, to make sure there's nothing derogatory in there that you can get sued over. Then when I ask, well, they go, well, we have a process out there and it's on whatever home link or whatever it was. Even though when I checked with Katie, she still doesn't have access to that. That's not acceptable. And as far as the guidance you guys are giving, you know, like with the contracts, a 90-day out, you should be having 30-day outs, because if you don't like something, you don't want to wait 90 days to cancel the contract. You want to get out in 30 days and move on. Okay, let's see here. And I still hear, you know, this is the way we've done it for 10 years, so this is the way it needs to be done now. There's a lot of processes that you guys have that aren't being done right. And I'll point something out, because I pointed this out before on the agenda. Review and consider is the item for all these. What does consider mean? Does consider mean approve?
Consider board approval.
Doesn't say that. What the statute says is that the agenda items have to be clear of what action the board's taking. All this saying, boards reviewing and considering. It doesn't necessarily take any action to approve it. I've asked you guys, I've pointed this out before to update, you need to update it.
Are you saying for the agenda, Scott, or?
The agenda, the statute says that the agenda has to state what action the board may take. When you say review and consider, that doesn't say anything about approving, disapproving. That just says, hey, we're gonna review it, we're gonna consider it, and that's it. Your action stops there. You need to be specific that says, we always put review, discuss, and approve. Even if we know the board's not gonna approve it, because that action has to be on there. The other thing is too, you guys may have covered this, some of these items, like there was something about painting private, or a proposal to paint park restrooms. Is that all the restrooms or just in a certain park? Okay, I don't know that. Is that the case? For all the restrooms that be painted?
Yes, it's for both parts.
Okay, I would say be more specific, because when I read this, I don't know what action you guys are taking. I don't know if it's one part or two. You guys know, they may know, but we don't know. And please put approval on here. And one final thing, I brought this up about a year ago when, and I haven't seen the minutes, there was, the way you guys are doing the minutes is that the motion was made, seconded, and approved. There was no, these two voted yes, these two voted no. That has to be on there. So I don't know if you guys went back and corrected previous minutes. But,
Previous minutes have not been corrected, but moving forward, we had changed that.
well, moving forward, you should need to go back and correct the minutes that where somebody didn't vote to approve something, because that's what the statute says supposed to happen. So, all right, leave it at that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
James from Madison Grove. I'll make this really brief. So just a couple things. It's now 9:40. And looking at this agenda, there's multiple things that are on here. I've noticed some board members who want to rush to get out of here. It seems like most expeditiously, that's a disservice to us. If I can come in here and stay until 9:40, then I think you should pay just as much attention, take enough time to consider what it is that's being proposed. Because none of us want to come in here and stay for 3 hours and 40 minutes. So same interest that I take in here, I expect you guys to take that same interest. Katie, I want to thank you for your due diligence. You have been phenomenal, and I'm glad I voted for you. Phil, I will extend to you the same appreciation. I'm glad that I voted for you as well, because what you have done is taken this very seriously, right? And I mentioned those two for a reason, because we recall some members who weren't doing their responsibility. They absolutely were not. And I'm not happy with the president. And I'm a guy who will talk to you to your face. I will tell you what I think of you, so if you don't hear it behind your back, and you know where this particular homeowner is coming from. I do not want my homeowners association fees raised again. That's the other thing. This brew thing, this alcohol thing, I don't know what the liability is if we're providing alcohol. I understand we may have a discrimination complaint if we try to do something for someone under the age of 21. But if we're providing alcohol to the residents and someone goes out and gets a DUI, are we not liable for that? Absolutely. So when I was in the military, many years ago, I retired in 2002, which means I went in 82. We stopped serving alcohol at family functions and organization days because there was a responsibility for the command when one of us went out and got a DUI. So if we're providing alcohol to our residents and they go out and get a DUI, that's on us, not the resident. That's got to be on us because we provided a liquor. I don't know where that came from, but we should absolutely not be providing alcohol to residents. And that might be something that someone might want to take a look at as well. Other than that, take your job serious, and if you don't want to do your job, and piggyback it on with, I'm assuming that's Katie's father, who appears to be very knowledgeable on bylaws and Robert's rules of order. Maybe you might want to brush up on that. But when you have 15 agenda items, and I was a union president twice, I know for a fact when I open up a meeting and I have an item for discussion, it's open for the people who are in the room. What good does it do for you guys to have the discussion? And this gentleman here says, this is not your time to talk. I should be able to talk on each and every single item that you have on this agenda. Because it affects me in the moment, not after you pass it. Now I gotta come back in here and try to fight to get you to reverse it. So there should be a discussion after every single item that you put on this agenda. Shorten your agenda and then let's do this monthly. Instead of having A through R, maybe it's A through J or A through H, and then we do this and we limit it to an hour and a half or 2 hours. You can't get 100 people in here for 3.5 hours with children, school, work. Again, you're doing a disservice to the 5,800 members who live in Providence, which is why you only have a limited number of chairs. And that's not because of COVID. I was in here 14 months ago and there was almost 100 people in here. It was almost 100 people in here because you guys, fiduciary responsibility, were failing. And we recalled a couple of y'all. And we probably should come get some more of y'all, to be quite frank about it. So if you don't want to take the job serious, gentlemen, because this ain't about a lady, gentlemen, then don't do it, right? But don't tell me, sir, that you're saving me $200,000 and I'm 1.4 million in the hole. Because if I came and looked at your budget, I'm willing to bet, sir, that you don't go to a store and you got $100 in your pocket and you spend 120. You don't manage your household budgets this way, ladies and gentlemen. Don't manage our budgets this way. I don't think that's asking for a lot. And I get frustrated when I gotta come in here. I really and truly do. I'd rather be sitting in my backyard with my water car going, having a beer. I really and truly would. And so when I get someone to come in here, then there's a problem. So please fix the problem. Like, fix it. Because it's not that difficult. It really is not that difficult. And I don't want to come in here and be angry every time I come in here. I want to come in here and be like, look, if we want to spend $495 for these ladies and gentlemen to have lunch, we should be able to do that 2 or 3 times a year and not think nothing of it. That's that simple. Because this is a volunteer gig. And for you being volunteers, I appreciate that. Because it ain't something that I want to do. It's not a place that I want to come into and spend 3.5 hours. It's just not. So I'm entrusting you to do what's right in accordance with the bylaws, in accordance with the battle law. That's what we're asking. And I don't think that's asking a lot. I really and truly don't. I just don't think that's asking a lot. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Hello again. This is just real quick. It's kind of a rebuttal because a lot of people talk about security or Securitas changing property values. And I am a licensed realtor and I do sell real estate here and nearby. So I wanted to just give you an example of what's going on in the neighborhood that does not have security or Securitas. The neighborhood is actually called Log Cabin Ranch. Someone might be familiar with it. It's up by the park. It's as far up on Decatur as you can go. So I just sold that property for $465,000. And it only has 2,306 square feet. It's insane. It's awesome for them. Then you go into Providence, has all the stuff, not security,
Courtesy patrol.
Courtesy patrol, yeah. Sorry, I'm getting tired. So you have 2 sales in that price range in Providence. And the first one, it has 2,600 square feet and it's sold at $470. It's only 5,000 more and it basically has a giant extra room. So there's that. And then there's one other sale for $495 with 27 square feet and it had a pool. So really, I just wanted a snapshot for you of the last possibly 30 days because nothing's set, there's no listings, there's shortage. But when there is a shortage, they're actually getting a higher price per square foot outside of Providence without security. So Our property values are what they are, but it didn't affect the sale that was inside of that rent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The only thing I was gonna say about the courtesy patrol is since we're changing companies, I just would like the board or management or somebody to sit down with the new company to try to get a little bit more consistency in the reporting. I went through 2,000 incident reports and that wasn't easy. I would like a more consistent way of reporting so that we can see if they're passing stuff on to management. I'd like management to look over those reports and stuff so that a homeowner doesn't have to. That's all.
I know that in big capital letters, my notes here is training. Report writing in particular. You know how important that is. Definitely.
Well, my name is Antoine Clayton. I live in Broadview. I've been a resident of Broadview and Providence since 2014. Just a couple of comments, or more observations. This is the first meeting that I've attended, but I've followed it a lot through the meetings and through other communications about the board meetings and about what's going on, because I do like the community. I like living in Providence. I think we're a great place. I want to also say thank you for you all, the board members who are taking your time to volunteer to do this and put up with everything that's going on amongst yourselves and in the community. What I'm taking issue with is the idea of hiring an accountant. I think that's something that should have been a no-brainer, considering we're talking about millions and millions of dollars in deficits and faults and errors and everything else that's going on. It would seem to me that that would probably be the first thing, but that's just me. You would look to is someone who is in that profession, an accountant, and have them on site to review the finances of other people. The money that we're paying to live here, to be in Providence, to be in this, what we're calling a great community. I think it is still a great community. It still has a lot of potential. But from a lot of the things that I heard tonight, it's almost like borderline. It's like, am I gonna wanna be here in 5 years if we can't resolve financial issues? The second thing is with this courtesy patrol or security or whatever we're calling them as well. If I'm not mistaken, from what I heard, like $1 million deficit. If I'm wrong, please forgive me. But to go out and remove one company who's charging X amount of dollars, bring in a different company who's gonna charge a similar amount of dollars. And I don't know of any other way to say it, but you can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. We're still $600,000 down. When that money could have been used, opinion, I don't know the ins and outs of it, it could have been used to pay down the $1 million deficit. Some people like courtesy patrol, I can take it or leave it. I come from a community that was in a worse area, a lot worse area. We didn't have a courtesy patrol, and we probably had a similar amount of problems that we have in Providence, few and far between. And thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more comment.
I understand that the management company was having lunches on the association's dime 3 or 4 times a year, about $400 each. Is that correct?
It was a couple times last year. It wasn't $400 each, but it was, I found a couple of them.
So did you guys report that when you renewed your license? You know, you're supposed to report to the real estate division whenever you get to.
Since I've been on Providence, we've only done one lunch and it was probably $50.
Did you report that? Because that's gratuity is supposed to be reported to the real estate division. Just saying.
Thank you, Scott.
Hey.
Okay. I have 2 comments to read for this homeowner open forum. The first one is from Larry Forsberg in Saratoga Highlands. Larry says, I would like the board to take a more proactive and assertive stance against number 1, barking dogs, number 2, speeding cars, and number 3, obnoxious, loud race cars. Thank you. This one is from Todd. And that's all I know about it. Thank you, Todd from Weston.
That Todd Schwartz again?
Yeah. Okay, so he says, social events build community and individual friendships. These often help retain and attract new home buyers that keep home values. These events also foster family desirability to the area that often helps with other things like school participation and making our schools top rated. While the pandemic has forced the stop of many of these activities, and many homeowners don't even realize recent votes to freeze events, I call for the board to look at reinstating many social events when the post-pandemic moment arrives and actually jumpstart it with something big to celebrate. When I moved here, I knew several other Providence homeowners already said that they already, and they all said are going to love the community. There is a lot for the family, and the HOA does a lot of events that my young children will enjoy. These events and other social minglings have grown our network of friends in the community, and we often meet up as groups at these social events, which continue to make this the forever community. Coming from only a few miles away from living outside of Providence for over a decade until a few years ago, I can let you know that many homeowners where I lived, people pointed to Providence when it came to social events, as they would see it announced. They would see in announcements and hear or join their friends who live in Providence. I know another person that was renting near my old home and was well moved to Providence for its safe neighborhood and community feel. This was the draw that brought me to my family to here, and I hope you realize the home value premiums these types of events will foster over the long term. Social events can protect and enhance property values, a key component to the HOA's primary responsibility and purpose.
Motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? Motion passes.